I F28 just sat through a dinner where my husband M34 relentlessly tore down my future career. I'm now at a loss of what to do. We've been married 5 years, together 8. Things have always been rocky. But the last 2 years we have really improved our communication and things have been better. My husband's job changed a few months ago and he has been struggling. He has become distant and angers easily. He has always struggled with anger issues. I am in the midst of getting my undergrad in mathematics for teaching secondary education. It should be noted that I was an accounting major prior to teaching. However, I worked in the field and quickly realized it was not for me. I have always wanted to teach, and we want a family soon, and I felt this career would work around this well. My husband loved the idea of me in accounting. He bragged to his friends and coworkers and was excited for me to be the primary breadwinner. He has a very stable, well-paying job in IT for the record. When I decided to switch majors, he was less than enthused, but glad it at least isn't primary education. Tonight at dinner, one of the few nights out we've had in a while, the subject of me finishing my degree came up, and it quickly went downhill. He was visibly upset and began explaining how he couldn't justify going into debt for just such an idiotic job that pays less than the debt is worth. This isn't true. We have paid out of pocket so far, and will only accumulate about $20,000 to finish. He then went on to explain how he could never respect teachers, what mouth breathers they are, and that you would only go into teaching because you aren't smart enough to do anything else. He then explained that I shouldn't take it personally. He isn't talking about me, just my future coworkers. He went on for the entire night. I tried to talk with him and give my side, but he quickly shut me down because he is just being honest. Would I rather he not give his opinion and just lie? When I asked him how I am supposed to explain to our future children why their father doesn't respect my job, he replied that they probably want either. So Reddit, my question is this a deal breaker? I honestly don't know that I can move on from this. While he makes some valid points about salary and potential coworkers, I simply can't get past the disrespect. Nor can I see how I'd be okay with this in the future. I am not sure I can handle not having his support. How do I go get my diploma as I'm graduating and look down and see him, knowing how little he respects me now? How do I discuss my job with friends in front of him, especially when he makes it known to any and everyone how he feels? I'm at a loss here. TLDR, my husband thinks teachers are a bunch of idiotic mouth breathers and does not support me becoming one. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Personally, I would not be okay with a SO who completely disrespected my career path. That probably means he thinks he's better on you on some level. A marriage should be an equal partnership, and a relationship where one person thinks they're better than the other one is bound to be unhealthy. It's up to you, but this definitely seems like it's in the deal-breaker neighborhood to me. Reply. That's the part that gets me, the equality and support. He was employed at the beginning of our relationship and then a cashier for a while. I never belittle him. I always support it. He just happened to go into a monetarily successful career. I would have supported anything he wanted to do. I tried to give the example that if suddenly he became impassioned about disposal and wanted to become a garbage man, I would start looking at the career differently and respecting his fellow garbage people. I simply don't get the lack of support and disrespect. Commenter 2. I don't get it either, but for him to say all that after you've been working hard towards your degree, that's just disrespectful as fuck. I advise couples counseling at the very least, but I wouldn't blame you if you started calling lawyers tomorrow either. Reply. We have been through counseling many times. I'm not sure how it would help with this though. It is how he feels. I have to decide if I'm okay with that, I suppose. Commenter 3. If it is truly how he feels, he could express reservations about it without making nasty personal attacks. What mouth breathers they are. And that you would only go into teaching because you aren't smart enough to do anything else. He then explained that I shouldn't take it personally. He isn't talking about me, just my future coworkers. He says he's talking about your coworkers, but he wants you to think he's talking about you. He's trying to put you off your choice of career by calling teachers mouth-breathing idiots, but using the claim, except you, of course, as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Reply. Sadly, I think you hit the head on the nail with this. You may remember me. I'm F28 ready to leave my husband M34, but we live with my parents. I posted a while ago about my husband berating me for becoming a teacher. Please know I read every response and tried my best to make it work. But after a few months, I've realized nothing will change. He has no respect for me, and I can't keep waiting for him to change. Today is our 5th year anniversary, and I woke up knowing it was time to leave. However, my problem is, we live with my parents. How do I walk away when I can't physically walk away? I have tried discussing a divorce. He is all game until push comes to shove, and then he backs away. I know his first wife just left in the night, and part of me wishes could, but it's my home, my parents. I'm having a really hard time figuring out the logistics of what to do next. Any advice is appreciated. You helped give me clarity before Reddit. Thank you. TLDR. How do I leave my husband when we live with my parents? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're acting like he is in the position of power here. He is not. Your parents can evict him at any moment. 30 days notice and he is gone. If you owned a house with him, this would be far more complicated. As is, it's pretty straightforward. Commenter 2. He's a legal tenant, so your parents need to start the eviction process and you need to file for divorce. You may want to post because I think you need more legal help at this point and less relationship advice. After you've filed for divorce, or even before, look into therapy or counseling to help you get through the whole process. Having an impartial person to vent to can be so helpful in situations like this. Commenter 3. You evict the asshole. Since he's so much more important and affluent than any teacher could possibly be, he can find and pay for his own accommodations. Talk to a divorce lawyer and follow their advice on how to proceed while protecting yourself. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my dad's affair partner wife that I don't care about her and her kids' needs and well-being. 2 years ago, my mom found out dad was cheating on her, and he moved in with his affair partner and her kids. Both dad and the affair partner, Martha, were married. Martha has 2 young kids with her ex-husband supposedly, and dad has me 16F and my brothers 20, 22, and 25. My brothers refused to have anything more to do with dad after the affair. But because I was 14, I didn't get the choice. My parents' divorce took over a year, and my dad and Martha have been married for a little under a year already. Martha's ex-husband doesn't want anything to do with their kids, so they're with Martha and dad all the time. I do what I can to be outside the house when it's dad's parenting time. He notices and complains, but I told him I'm not playing happy family with his affair partner wife. Dad tells me not to call Martha that, and Martha has yelled at me in the past few months for using that term because she's afraid her kids will hear. I told them I don't care and I don't have respect for them. I tell dad all the time he let me down and he destroyed our family and hurt us all. He says it shouldn't hurt me and my brothers and that he doesn't care if he hurts mom because she's so boring that nobody should be stuck with her. I always tell him I can't wait for Martha to cheat on him. My dad has to pay a certain percentage of all activities I'm a part of. Martha feels like it's unfair because I do so many and it takes money from their household. So she told me I need to do 1 or 2 things and not all the things because her kids have needs, and so does she, and their well-being needs to be maintained. I told her I don't care about their needs or well-being because they're not my problem. She said you're supposed to care about how your family is doing, and I told her the affair partner wife of my cheating father will never be my real family, and she could be homeless on the street for all I care. Dad told me I have no right to talk that way to anyone, and Martha has tried to be nice to me, but I won't even be civil with him. I told him if he wants a civil household, he should let go of his parenting time. I told him I'm done at 18 regardless, but he's the one punishing Martha's kids and Martha by forcing me to be here. He told me it doesn't give me the right to say I don't care about the well-being of a mom with 2 young kids. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, it always amazes me that parents can be this dumb. Reply. OMG, I know. He's only delaying the inevitable. Commenter 2. I would join more activities. Not your problem the cheaters are broke. Commenter 3. NTA, you don't owe those people anything. Commenter 4. You seem very level-headed and very much aware of how it makes you feel. Your father is so self-centered that he told you that your mom is boring while yelling at you for calling her an affair partner, which she is. Martha has no right to ask you to reduce your activities. Your father is the one paying for half, or if with your mom, for your benefit. She knew your father had a family. She cannot ask you to reduce your lifestyle and to prefer her own kids in your detriment. You have the right to ask for the visitation rights to be reviewed. I am flabbergasted that a grown man, father of 3, cannot simply apologize for cheating, for leaving. Just explain that sometimes life turns out differently and that he is sorry it has an impact on you, but that you will remain important to him no matter what. No, he just wants Martha to be happy. Reply. He's a grown man and father of 4. I have 3 brothers. But with the way they act, sometimes I wonder if he's the real father of Martha's kids. Not that it matters to me. But I ask myself that question sometimes. Commenter 4 again. Do you think that Martha's former husband wants nothing to do with his kids because they are not his to begin with? Reply. I think that could be the reason. Stories number 3. Aita to divorce my husband and leave him with the kid after finding out I'm not biologically the mom. I can't believe my life has come to this. All I ever do is go out of my way to help others, but on the few occasions I need help, nobody ever comes through for me. I 36F have been with my husband 35M for a total of almost 10 years, married for 7. We had what I thought was my child by surrogate over 2 years ago, because after 4 years of trying to conceive with no success despite medical interventions, it turns out I am unable to carry a child to term. I had always wanted to be a mom. Devastated is an understatement regarding how I felt when I found out I have a medical condition that would make it nearly impossible to carry a baby to term. It was even more upsetting when I had to get a major surgery to remove uterine growths with the hope to increase fertility, and complications during surgery warranted a partial hysterectomy involving removal of my uterus only. I still had my ovaries, so we started looking into cost of a surrogate. It is really expensive. My close friend since college, who'd already had 2 kids of her own, offered to serve as the surrogate for us to cut down on costs. After 2 disappointing IVF sessions that did not result in pregnancy, she became pregnant on the 3rd try and carried a boy to term for us. I was so happy and busy after the birth, between being a mom and returning to work after a 4-week parental leave, so I didn't notice any warning signs. I should have noticed the red flags and warning signs early on, but did not because I was so exhausted from working so much at my stressful job and 2 part-time jobs to cover most of the bills and anticipated medical and legal costs associated with this friend becoming our surrogate. I was the primary breadwinner. My friend and my husband started talking more, and I would sometimes come home from my weekend job to find her already hanging out at our house when my husband was there. I chalked it up as innocuous, and it's good for her to know my husband better since she was in the process of hopefully carrying our child for us. I was grateful to have someone helping us have a child. I also thought it weird that our son has brown eyes when both of us have blue. Then I found out that while this is uncommon, it's possible sometimes due to many genes controlling eye color. Recently, it all came to a head when I took our son to a doctor's appointment, and they did metabolic panel and blood tests which showed that he had a blood type that is not biologically possible to have with me as his mother. He's B+, I'm A+, and husband is O+. Immediately, I started worrying it was the fertility clinic's fault and that they'd messed up and implanted a wrong embryo. I started lining up lawyer consultations to possibly sue the clinic and looked into having a DNA parentage test done. The test results showed that I'm not the mother, but my husband still is the father. I was heartbroken and angrier than ever. Talked to lawyers about medical malpractice in the fertility clinic we'd used. Then my husband confessed that he'd slept with my friend, our surrogate, on a few different occasions during our struggle to have her get pregnant with our embryos. This means what I thought was our son conceived by IVF and carried with a surrogate isn't my son at all, and was in fact conceived the old-fashioned way, which I can't ever do. Livid and absolutely broken at the same time doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. I have been breaking down into crying spells over and over again about this. He claims he didn't ever think pregnancy could result because he pulled out, and he had always assumed that he was the reason for our earlier struggles to conceive, both before my hysterectomy and during the IVF insemination process with this friend. I felt an immediate triple betrayal from what was supposed to be my husband, my friend, and now knowing my child isn't even really mine. I had such white-hot rage and delirium. I immediately left home and stayed at a hotel for almost a week before asking my parents to let me stay at home for a while. I admit I left our son with him. I am now filing divorce because he cheated and betrayed me in the worst possible way. I have also cut off my friendship with my friend, this surrogate, and feel afraid to trust anyone else now. I have seen a divorce lawyer to see about giving up my legal rights to this kid so I don't have to face such betrayal or owe child support. My husband and friend admit they were wrong and keep apologizing, but also called me immature and heartless to just give up on my son like that. My parents also say I can't just give up on a kid that I went through so many legal and medical hoops to have. When I told them I refused to stay in a cheater marriage and I'd rather adopt someday with a better, more trustworthy partner, they also told me I was wrong and that maintaining my parental rights isn't much different than if I adopted outright. They said it isn't blood that makes a family. They are all about me divorcing my cheater husband but keep telling me I'm making a mistake giving up my parental rights. Some of my other friends agree with what I'm doing. A few admitted they weren't big enough to swallow pride and care for an affair baby, or to see daily reminders of my friend Sugget's betrayal every time I look at her son. I just want a clean break and a fresh start. I'm also looking at relocating several states away. Aita to give up my parental rights in the divorce because a kid I paid a lot of money to have born by surrogacy isn't biologically mine at all, but the Suggets? TLDR. I recently found out that a son that my husband and I had born to a surrogate since I'm infertile is biologically my husband's kid, but not mine. My husband confessed that he slept with my friend, who served as surrogate, during the long IVF process, so the kid is actually conceived of an affair between my husband and friend. I am filing for divorce and looking to give up my parental rights so I can move away and get a clean break from the whole situation without having to owe child support for a kid that's not mine. Some friends agree with my plan, but my husband and parents think I'm in the wrong to just cut off a kid I raised for 2 years. Update. In the comments, 5 months later. I'm low on time right now, but we'll be posting a separate update post later. I'm not staying, and I'm not caring for him anymore. I was not even offered a choice in the matter at all, which is why I've kept telling myself I shouldn't want to compare myself to men in a similar type of parentage situation and have kept myself aloof toward the boy I thought was mine. I have no legal rights anymore no matter what because SHE fought to get her son back. I'm actually a lot more upset about losing this child than I presented in my post, and I'm realizing more and more with each passing day. The choice wasn't mine and I lost. I posted that I wouldn't want to be the sucker raising someone else's kid as more of a cope than anything. She got to have her kid. He left me, and I'm stuck with nothing. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. No, you're NTA. You've suffered a terrible betrayal. Only you can say what's best for you. Personally, I wouldn't be able to look at the child without being hit with the betrayal again and again. Your parents and friends don't have to actually deal with the situation. They don't get a vote. Your soon-to-be ex is a real piece of work. You're immature? I would want to throw up if I was in the same room with him. Please get some therapy to work through this. Don't let these two $8 holes hold you back from living your best life. Reply. He feels like biological maternity shouldn't matter that much when it means I am finally fulfilling my dream of becoming a mother. He says that if I adopt someday, I am still going to have to raise a child that is not biologically mine. He has reminded me about what a depressive wreck I was during the infertility, the aftermath of my partial hysterectomy, and how I put him through the ringer because I was obsessed with wanting to have a child. He claims that I pushed him away with my baby obsession, and he couldn't deal with me anymore, and that's why he started spraying the way he did. He also says that I can't just turn my back on a child when I legally signed all the paperwork, which is similar to adoption paperwork since the state doesn't readily recognize a child born to a surrogate to be the couple's child since they base it on the person who gave birth to the child as being the legal mother until paperwork is signed that transfers the rights over. He also claimed that I am going to have a difficult battle ahead of me trying to reverse that. Commenter 2. Also how much I'll spend on IVF just for this to happen. I'd want him and the surrogate to reimburse part of it. Reply. I tried and failed. The doctor and clinic I complained to said the IVF costs were associated with the formation and storage of embryos, and the procedures associated with the insemination, not the outcome. Commenter 3. Oh yes, take her to civil court. Criminal court if you can prove fraud. Have your lawyer file fraud charges against the bitch. Reply. The funny thing funny like peculiar, not haha funny is that she didn't even know she was the baby mama until very recently when I told her. I guess she thought there was no possible consequence to having sex. Commenter 4. Realistically, I don't see her getting every penny back. Part of the money was used on IVF procedures that did happen, even if they didn't take, which is a known gamble. But any money spent on the surrogate during pregnancy related to medical costs? She probably has a legitimate claim to that. Reply. That's the thing. She agreed to be our surrogate because we couldn't afford the costs a center wanted to find us a surrogate. She didn't get any monetary benefit except us paying her out-of-pocket costs for medical and transportation expenses. Commenter 5. NTA. Leave your husband, friend, and kid. They can play family themselves since that is clearly what they wanted when they started fucking. They can take care of the kid. You take care of you first. Reply. There is a real chance that my husband might actually end up becoming a single dad. I don't know how or if the supposed friend who was supposed to be our surrogate would have. She already has 2 kids from a previous relationship who are older. She said before that she was done having kids of her own, which is why she was okay with serving as a surrogate, since it would mean helping out, but not having to take the responsibility of raising. I don't know how she feels really because I haven't talked to her, and I do not want to talk to her. The one time I contacted her after my husband confessed, I admit I exploded on her, and she hung up on me a few minutes later. Commenter 6. Is your friend married, or with a partner, or is she a single mom? Because I was wondering where the father of her kids is, and why wasn't he mentioned? Reply. She's not married. She was with her ex for a long time and had 2 kids with him, but didn't marry. They broke up around 5 or 6 years ago. Commenter 7. NTA, your husband and ex-friend are fucking assholes of note. When did his cheating stop, or has it continued all this time? As for the kid, you're the only mom he knows. Why did he cheat in the first place? Everyone knows that when IVF, etc., are being done, you don't have unprotected sex. This is a huge betrayal. Is your friend married? NTA. Reply. No, she's not married. He actually had the audacity to claim that my depression and obsession with pregnancy and having a kid pushed him away. He also said he felt deprived of affection because I was working so much. Even though I was the primary breadwinner and the only responsible spouse keeping up with the bills. If I hadn't taken on extra work, he would not have stepped up, and the loan I took out to pay for uncovered medical expenses IVF would have gone unpaid. I don't know for sure if it was unprotected or not. I'm assuming it was. But he did make a ridiculous statement that he didn't think anything like this would happen because he thought maybe he was part of the problem with our lack of conception. It is absolutely ridiculous to say this, because if he was the problem causing the infertility, then they would have never been able to form viable embryos from him and I. I think he said this as a lame excuse. Anyone with half a brain would know not to have relations with a surrogate during the IVF wait period, and more importantly, why would any respectful husband want it anyway? Commenter 8. Did the surrogate sign papers? Legally, you can sue her ass for everything you spent. Reply. The only paperwork that was legally drafted was for her transferring over the parental rights to us. Much like an adoption in the event that there is already a mutual off-the-books agreement to adopt from someone already personally known. We were trying to do it as cheap as possible because we don't make much money and the costs that couldn't be avoided were sky high enough to the point I took out loans from the bank and then picked up 2 part-time jobs on the side to pay toward these loans. Commenter 9. At this point, her being able to even continue being a legal guardian is in question. Now that maternity has been established, she has no legal right to the child since surrogate contracts are created so that the biological parents have all rights. At least that is my understanding of them. Reply. And yes, that is exactly what I've been going through all these months. I have little to no rights. I'm stuck coping with major loss. My best chance at still being this boy's guardian is to stay with that awful scrub of a guy. Hope he lets me stay, and agreeing to let that slore of a friend have 50-50 and be the chump who still pays most of the bills for that unmotivated scrub SOB in the meantime, while he continues to cheat. It also came out that she wasn't his only affair either. He's been cheating all along for most of the time that we've been trying, without success, to get pregnant. So for anyone who acts like I'm selfish, I make their blood boil. They can go fuck themselves because they don't know me like that, and I don't have any real choice in the matter. Commenter 10. So she was looking for a new man anyway. Give her back her baby. These people deserve each other. Reply. When you put it like that, I don't want them together or with anyone honestly. I kind of hope they both die old alone after what they put me through. Stories number 4. Aita for leaving my husband's family vacation early after his cousin joked about me being just a teacher. I'm a public school teacher. I love what I do. I'm not ashamed of my job or my salary. My husband's family is, let's say, more corporate. Lots of lawyers, consultants, and tech execs. I've always felt a little out of place, but kept it polite. During a beach trip, we were all having dinner when his cousin, let's call him Brent, made a joke. Man, must be nice to get paid for coloring and nap time. Teachers have it made. I kind of laughed it off and said, you should try handling 38-year-olds during a pandemic and see how relaxing it is. He replied, nah, I'll leave the crayons to you. Everyone laughed. My husband said nothing. That night I told him I wanted to leave early. He said I was overreacting and that Brent just has a dumb sense of humor. I left the next morning and took a train home. Now my husband's mad I embarrassed him by bailing early. Brent texted me a sarcastic apology like, didn't know you were so sensitive. Aita for walking away instead of putting up with it? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. If we didn't have teachers, there wouldn't be people in those corporate jobs. They all got to start somewhere. He has forgotten his roots. Commenter 2. Not sensitive. I just spend enough of my time around children. I choose not to spend my free time around them as well. We can talk again when you grow up. Commenter 3. And TA. But are there a husband problem here? His silence speaks volumes. Ask him if he respects your career. If he hesitates, you have your answer. Also, next birthday, get BIL an 8-pack of crayons. Commenter 4. Nope. Not the but your husband is. He should always have your back. He should have stopped his family's passive-aggressive crap a long time ago. Stories number 5. My 29F friends 30F completely excluded me and are now flabbergasted that I no longer consider them friends. Me 29F and my high school friends 30FX4 have been friends for around 18 years. We stuck together through thick and thin. I really thought these girls would be my friends for life. Well, like a year ago, Kiera, all fake names, got married, and I was the only one not invited to her bachelorettes and wedding. When I asked my other friends why this happened, they said the 3 bachelorettes were planned by someone else. Why didn't they even ask why I wasn't invited? We will never know, and the wedding was a small ceremony and not to take it personally. Then they posted a picture of the 4 of them with a caption like, "Beasties for life." I felt very excluded and tried talking to some of them about it, but they made me feel like I was overreacting to something that was not a big deal. Since this happened, Kiera made it perfectly clear she doesn't like me anymore. I didn't do anything to deserve getting excluded this way. Kiera never tried talking to me or even explaining why she was pulling away. Flash forward to today. On our group chat, they started talking about a plan they had tonight to which I was obviously not invited, discussing who would bring this or that, as if I wasn't there at all. So I removed myself from the group chat. I was already mourning the loss of those I used to consider close friends, and then Patty, another one of the 4, texted me how she felt I pulled away from them. Told me about their group chat, just the 4 of them, their mini get-together without me, and how she wanted to know what happened, why I stopped hanging out with them, how they missed me and never wanted me to pull away. Yet they did. They were okay with Kiera creating a new group chat excluding me without reason, and they all decided that was their new chat. No one stood up for me or refused to exclude me. Not one even questioned why I was suddenly being excluded. She then proceeded to excuse their actions, how they got together and never called me because sometimes I wouldn't go to their get-together when they were going to go clubbing because I hate that, or when I had previews plans. How they only talked through the chat in which I was not included. She claims to want to know my side of everything. What does she even mean? I was just excluded without a word. My side of what? My friend stopped calling me. Last time I spoke to Patty, I told her about some health issues I was dealing with 2 months ago, and she left me on read. She said, "We felt like you stopped caring about us." Yet never told me shit. Just created a new group chat and decided to avoid me, never invite me anywhere, and then blame me for pulling away. A part of me wants to leave her on read, like she did me. Another part of me wants to know why the hell Kiera hates me for no fucking reason. And the last part wants to tell her to stick her apology up her ass, because saying, "I'm so sorry you got offended by us completely excluding you for months," is not an apology. You excluded me. You made me feel like shit. Yet somehow you still blame me for not catching up with people who only spoke through the group chat that didn't include me, who stopped inviting me to any get-together. Somehow it's my fault you guys decided you weren't going to invest any time or energy on me. I'm so sorry my back hurt your knife. I hope you find peace. Comments. Commenter 1. They gaslit you. You pulled away is the biggest emotional manipulation in these situations. Like, girl, how am I supposed to stay close to people who actively cut me out of everything? Reply. Their excuse makes absolutely no sense. We thought you didn't want to hang out with us, so we pulled away. Never said anything and waited for you to beg to see us. What? Commenter 2. Don't respond. If she reached out, and that's all she had to say, there's nothing to be gained from that relationship anymore, and you're only going to give them more gossip ammunition. Reply. I have zero doubts she would screenshot my reply and send it on their group chat. That is what is stopping me. Commenter 3. Leave her on read, or delete the message without reading. May their wine eternally be flavorless. May their clothing always be unflattering on them. The trash took itself out. Take this opportunity to find new and amazing friends. Live your best life without those asshats. Stories number 6. My girlfriend took her life after we broke up. Her family is now blaming me and spreading my information online. My girlfriend recently just took her life. This is by far the most devastating and traumatizing event I have experienced in my entire life. I've spent 5 weeks total in the hospital after 2 failed suicide attempts. My girlfriend was very physically and emotionally abusive. She has strangled, struck, and tried stabbing me many times. Whenever I would try to end the relationship, she would threaten to take her life and mine as well. I've called the police on her and contacted her family, in which she would just say she was kidding. She would later threaten me and have me not contact her family and police again because if I did, she would do something terrible. Anyways, her family has recently began posting my picture and information online. They have also created a narrative that I encouraged her to take her life and that I'm now hiding and fleeing from the police, which none of that is true. What can I honestly do in this situation? Comments. Commenter 1. Seems like they're openly spreading lies about you. Pretty sure that's illegal. You could call the police and explore your options, I'd say. Commenter 2. Also call a lawyer and start sending cease and desist. Commenter 3. Hell with the cease and desist. Let them build a nice tidy mountain of evidence, and then boom, hit Tim with the $500,000 civil suit for all the mental anguish and character damage. Update. Hello, everyone. Nearly 2 years ago, my girlfriend tragically took her own life. It remains one of the most devastating, life-altering experiences I have ever endured. The pain and trauma from that event have rippled through every corner of my life, reshaping how I see myself, relationships, and the future. I'm just 23, but this experience has aged me far beyond my years. The emotional toll and the weight of everything I've been through have left their mark, inside and out. When I first shared parts of this story, I was overwhelmed, drowning in raw emotion, confusion, and chaos that clouded my ability to fully articulate what I was living through. It was rushed and incomplete. Now, with time, distance, and healing, I want to share a more honest and comprehensive account, not just to tell my truth, but to shed light on the complex reality of abusive relationships and grief. Our relationship was deeply complicated, painful, and at times frightening. She was physically and emotionally abusive toward me, behaviors that left scars I carry to this day. The abuse was often unpredictable, and I lived with threats and fear that made leaving feel nearly impossible. It's difficult to explain how emotional guilt and hope intertwine, how I clung to the memories of the good moments and believed, against evidence, that change was possible. But those signs, in hindsight, were warnings I wish I had recognized and acted on sooner. Throughout our time together, I reached out for help multiple times, calling the police, involving her family, in a desperate attempt to find safety and support. After her passing, her family attempted to pursue charges against me. However, after a thorough investigation, the police found no grounds for any legal action. The lead detective personally assured me that I had done nothing wrong and that there was no evidence to implicate me in any way. I fully cooperated with the authorities from the beginning. Despite these official findings, her family began spreading harmful and entirely false claims, including that I was fleeing from the police and on the run. This was a complete fabrication. I was never evading law enforcement. I remained present, accountable, and compliant through every step of the investigation. To protect myself and ensure the truth was represented, I hired a highly respected lawyer, someone with a strong legal reputation who has also served in Congress. Their guidance and advocacy helped me navigate the wave of public misinformation and personal attacks that followed. While the harassment has diminished over time, some of the false narratives still linger, continuing to cause pain. Since then, I've faced my own battles, most significantly, a suicide attempt that led to a 5-week hospital stay, followed by time in a psychiatric facility. It was one of the darkest and most vulnerable periods of my life. Recovery has been a long, slow process, often painful and exhausting. I now work full-time to manage the weight of mounting medical bills and rebuild some sense of stability. I plan to return to college in the fall of 2026, a step that represents both healing and hope for the future. Through it all, the unwavering support of my friends and family has been a lifeline, reminding me that I am not alone and that it's okay to ask for help. Healing is not linear. Some days are brighter than others, and I'm learning every day to be patient and gentle with myself as I rebuild my life from the fragments left behind. Loving someone who hurts you is confusing and painful. Holding on to the hope of who they could be, while facing the harsh reality of who they are, kept me trapped far longer than I ever imagined. That internal conflict is something I still wrestle with. I share this update to raise awareness about the brutal realities of abusive relationships. Leaving isn't a simple decision. Emotional guilt, fear, and hope can create invisible chains that keep people trapped. If you or someone you know is in this situation, please know you are not alone, and help is available. Please also remember, suicide is never the answer. No relationship, no matter how difficult, should end with loss of life. A healthy relationship requires emotional wellness. Your life is precious and worth fighting for. She wasn't a bad person. She was someone deeply struggling with pain and trauma of her own, a pain she couldn't or wouldn't face with help. That painful complexity shapes how I remember her, and I carry that with both sorrow and compassion every day. I loved her and I still do, forever and always. No matter how difficult things became, she'll always be number one in my heart. She will hold a special place there until the very day I die. If you're reading this and feel alone, overwhelmed, or stuck, please reach out. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, or professional. You don't have to carry this burden in silence. I hope by sharing my story, I can help others approach situations like this with empathy rather than judgment. We rarely see the full story behind someone's pain. I also kindly ask for respect and privacy as I continue to heal. This path is difficult, and compassion from others means more than criticism ever could. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or abuse, please consider connecting with a counselor, helpline, or support group. There is help available, and you are not alone. I'm open to answering questions or having honest conversations, whether in the comments or through direct message. If you're going through something or just need someone to listen, I'm here. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who has offered kindness, support, or simply taken the time to read this. Your compassion means more than words can say. Comments. Commenter 1. I have no idea why this is being accused of AI. I have a ton of posts that are kind of similar, but I lost my brother and blame my brother's GF. Unlike your situation, where you tried to get her help, the GF and her family they lived with them knew my brother was in psychosis and suicidal and harming himself for a week before he killed himself. They told no one, did nothing, did not try to help him at all. Just let him die. I write a post similar to yours every Monday day he died on my social media, hoping it'll help someone. If they are spreading misinformation about you, have them charged with harassment. Good luck. Reply. I'm really sorry for your loss. That kind of grief runs deep, especially when it's mixed with anger and the weight of knowing that the people who should have stepped up didn't. You and your brother deserved so much more. In my case, her family has gone out of their way to make me the scapegoat, and it's been incredibly painful. What they won't talk about is the fact that she was actually on suicide watch. Her own mother, a nurse, was the one responsible for watching her, and they still left her alone. After she died, they called me yelling, saying it was my fault because I had broken up with her. But later, they completely changed the story. They started spreading lies online, claiming I abused her and encouraged her to take her own life, even though by that point, I had already stepped away from the relationship. The truth is, I always took her seriously when she said she was suicidal. I called her family. I called the police. I tried again and again to get her help. But each time I did, she would lash out at me. She would tell me I was being overdramatic, that I was making things worse, and that she'd never actually go through with it. After a while, that started to change the way I reacted. Not because I stopped caring, but because I'm human. When someone repeatedly tells you they don't mean what they're saying, you start to believe them, even when part of you still worries. It became a situation where I was stuck between trying to help and being told I was hurting her by doing so. What her family will never understand is that she told me, in her own words, that I was the only reason she was still alive at times. I was the one person she felt cared. So now, to be blamed for her death by the very people who were supposed to be protecting her, it's heartbreaking. They needed someone to blame, and they chose me. I really appreciate you sharing your story. Posting every Monday in memory of your brother is such a meaningful way to honor him, and I'm sure it's helped more people than you realize. Thank you for your compassion and understanding. It means a lot. I'm doing my best to move forward with the truth and find peace. I hope you're able to find that too. You're not alone in this. Stories number 7. As I get older, I'm wondering if I'm the one who killed my nephew ATM 25F. When I was 14, I was staying with my aunt. One day she left me with her 4-month-old son, and he kept on crying and crying. I was sitting with my friends holding the babe while he still cried. I got overstimulated and pressed him hard on my chest. He still cried, but later on was calm and playful. 6 hours later, my aunt came back and was feeding him bananas. It was his first day trying solid foods. Later on, she breastfed him and laid him to sleep. 2 hours later, the baby woke up with a very intense nonstop cry, and my aunt and uncle rushed him to the hospital, where he died before he was attended to. A year later, my aunt had another baby, and one day she said, "Why is it that any time I want to leave you with my baby, your uncle is against it? What did you do to our son that killed him?" I never looked into this so deep because as far as that moment, I didn't think I did anything. I'm 25 years old now, and this thing has been bothering me for 5 years now. When I pressed him on my chest, did I break his ribs? Did I cause internal bleeding? Was he already sick, and that's why he was crying before? I have a million questions, and I wish I knew the answer. Edit. A comment said I should get my medical facts straight before factionalizing stories because I said the kid died before he was attended to. This is something that's been weighing me down all these years. Why would I say such a thing if it's not something that happened? I was 14, so yes, I only know what I heard. No one gave me a complete explanation on what happened at the hospital. I didn't ask my aunt and uncle because I was afraid to ask about a sensitive issue even years later, and no, I couldn't ask my parents either because I had no parents. When I turned 16, I had to go stay with my grandma because my uncle was mistreating me. I also lost contact with my aunt when her and my uncle separated. Some mentioned about checking on the cause of death written on the death certificate. I never saw that, and it will be hard getting it from them unless there is a way I can go to the hospital and see if they can pull up the records. Comments. Commenter 1. Pressed hard to your chest is vague. But if kiddo was acting normal and playful and eating for a few hours later, it's not likely related to that. There's not enough info here to say how or why he died. NGL. I would not spend alone time with her next infant if she's going to say stuff like that to you. It's messed up. Commenter 2. I don't read anything in your description that would indicate you injured the baby. Their bones are soft and do not break easily, and they like to be held tightly or wrapped in a tight cloth swaddling. If you had hurt him, it would have been obvious at that time, and there would have been some sort of police investigation. Your aunt and uncle might be superstitious or something. Commenter 3. What a fucked up thing to say to a kid. Babies cry. Babies have allergies. Babies experience sudden death with no explanations. It's not fair at all to pin that on you in an attempt to alleviate their own pain. Commenter 4. And you'll never know. But it probably wasn't your fault. Unless you felt bones snap or something, it's unlikely that what happened was related to you pressing on the chest. If there were broken ribs or another cause, it would have been brought up to CPS by the DRs when the baby passed. If it was already crying, it was likely sick and only a matter of time. Your aunt is an AH for even insinuating it could be because of you. Stories number 8. I 27M discovered my wife's 30F family was behind my vicious cyberbullying attack. My wife knew, but she hid it for years. How do I move past this? My 27M marriage is in a really bad spot after a deep breach of trust. How to recover or how to trust my wife 30F again. For some context, we've been together 7 years and married 5. We have a child 2M. We met at a con. I thought her cosplay was amazing, struck up a conversation, and the rest is history. She's the most loving, unselfish, and decent person I've ever met. Our relationship was never without its challenges. Our biggest obstacle was her family. My presence was unwelcome. They're very close-knit, and if one doesn't accept you, then you're not getting far. There are a few family members who broke away from the pack, but no one hardly acknowledges them. They're no contact and black sheep. I didn't know how my wife's family was, but I did know family was extremely important to her. Her whole upbringing was based on family, so I tried everything in my power to make it work. They didn't really put up with me until our son. Between our wedding planning to shortly before the wedding, I was the target of some relentless and vicious cyberbullying. It got personal. Fake bad reviews polluted my business profile too. It cost me some potential clients. I didn't know where it came from or why. I couldn't find a solution. I'd report, but it'd take a while for anything to be done, or there'd be more accounts coming out for another round. The whole thing impacted my life and my mental health. It took a toll. My wife was incredibly supportive. She was my rock and my best friend. I loved her even more for her care and how she held me down. Then the trolling and everything stopped. I wanted nothing more than to move on. I put it all behind me until the other day my wife confessed that her family was behind the harassment. I didn't believe her at first, but she was serious and showed me proof in their family group chat. It felt like I was right back there again. They were gloating and justifying themselves, saying stuff like, some people gotta learn the hard way, and if he wants to join the fold, here's his initiation. I knew I wasn't their favorite person, but I never realized they hated me and would go to such extremes. I asked my wife when she found out, and if she was a part of it. She swore she wasn't and that she'd never do that to me. She claims she didn't initially know it was her family until a few months before our wedding. One of my SNL's 28F left a profile up on her phone, and my wife saw it. She confronted her family and made them stop. I asked why she was telling me everything now. She said it was weighing on her, and she opened up to her eldest sister 35F, one of the family's black sheep. She threatened to tell me the truth if my wife didn't. Nothing my wife said made it better. She knew for years what her family did and hid it from me. She kept everything quiet. It hurts more coming from her because she knew firsthand my pain. I was pretty numb. My wife was anxious and kept pushing for me to say something. I told her there wasn't anything she could say right now that would make it okay. What she did was no better than her family. They made my life hell, and her first instinct was to cover for them. She started crying and begged me to understand. She said it wasn't like that, and she was trying to make things right with as little damage as possible in men relationships. I wasn't very receptive to her. She wasn't reaching me. I couldn't help her or myself. I told her I needed some time to clear my head. She was against it. She said we could work through this together, but I was firm on space. Space isn't a request she's respected. I'm really trying to understand her side. I'm trying to move past it, but I feel so betrayed. I trusted her more than anyone. I'm my most vulnerable with her. I kept opening up to her about the incident even after she knew the truth. She encouraged me to let it go and not allow it to have any claim on me. I thought she had my best interest in mind. Now I just see it as her attempt to protect her family yet again. I haven't confronted anyone involved. I don't think they're worth it. But I've made it clear they're no longer allowed to see our son until further notice. Now I'm getting texts about how I'm depriving my child of grandparents and aunts over past family spats. One of the hardest parts is the distance from my wife. She's my best friend and partner in every way. Now we're mostly only communicating about our son and other household necessities. She's hurt by my rejection, and she's been crying often. If I'm being unfair to her. I hate all of this. I want to make our marriage work, but I'm questioning our relationship up to now. I'm just really lost. I need an outside perspective. How do I navigate this situation and move forward for my marriage and myself? TLDR, my marriage is in a bad spot. How to trust my wife again. I was the target of some relentless and vicious cyberbullying for months. It impacted my life and my mental health. I put it behind me until my wife confessed that her family was the culprit. She showed me proof in their group chat. I knew I wasn't their favorite person, but I never realized they hated me. My wife swears she didn't initially know and that she made them stop, but she still hid it for years. She begged me to understand and said that she was trying to make things right for us and our son. I asked for space to clear my head. She hasn't exactly respected that request. I'm really trying to move past it, but I feel so betrayed by her. If I'm being unfair. I want to make our marriage work, but I'm questioning everything. How do I navigate this situation and move forward for my marriage and myself? Comments. Commenter 1. I think what is bothering me most is that your wife is still not getting it. She doesn't understand how vile her family is, and if they did it once, they could do it again. They took your money, your peace of mind, your confidence. Even though she stopped it, she never told you, leaving you to wonder why and who. And past family spats. It's not like this was a little tiff and they apologized and you won't let it go. I'd suggest therapy for you both, and I don't even know. At the very least, you'll learn how to co-parent together if you can't save the marriage. Maybe a therapist can get her to see how huge this is. Reply. It's like my wife's not getting where I'm coming from or just doesn't want to go there. Her family never even apologized. They're making it out like I'm holding grudges. Commenter 2. Also realize she didn't tell you because she wanted to. She only told you because someone else threatened to tell you, and she wanted to control exactly what was said. If I were you, I'd want to speak to the other person who knew, i.e. the black sheep. It's such a huge breach of trust. She aided her relatives in trying to destroy your livelihood and self-worth. I can't see any reason why you'd want to remain married to someone who clearly doesn't value you or really love you, and has demonstrated she loves and places her family above you. Commenter 3. So her idea of making things right is to lie to you for years, providing cover for the awful people who did this to you? Any decent partner would cut that family off without a backward glance. I am so sorry. Opie, you must be reeling. Reply. She said she thought she was protecting me and that she handled the situation with her family. I just don't see anything she did as for my benefit. I see it more as she was protecting her family yet again before anything else. Commenter 4. Personally, I don't think I could come back from this. Your wife defended people who tried to ruin your life for no reason. These aren't just some strangers. These are her family. What if something similar happens in the future? Could you count on your wife being there for you, sticking up for you, and taking your side? I highly doubt it. Stories number 9. My male coworker cornered me in my office, pushed the door against me, and screamed to me in workplace. Now my boss is asking what I could have done differently. Hi everyone. I'm posting for a close friend who's too overwhelmed to write right now, but she really needs support and perspective. She works at a small real estate company in Chicago, and the company is also politically messy. There are two internal factions. She and a male coworker involved are seen as being on opposite sides. For months, that guy has treated her with open hostility. And yesterday, while she was coordinating a project per their boss's direction, he interrupted her, got aggressive, and started yelling at her in front of others. "How did your parents raise such a piece of shit?" she shouted back, then returned to her office and slammed the door shut. But moments later, he came to her office door, entered uninvited, and kept verbally attacking her, accusing her of not working, taking over the office, and more. When she tried to close the door to protect herself, he physically blocked it, pushed it back open against her, and leaned into the doorway with his body. She screamed at him to stop touching her, but he wouldn't back off. A female coworker who witnessed it finally stepped in and physically separated them. And if that woman hadn't intervened, my friend believes he might have hit her. When she reported the incident, the first thing her male boss asked was, "Do you think there's anything you could have done differently to de-escalate it? Were you right to slam the door?" Her company has no HR department or workplace violence policy, and she even handles some HR admin herself. It's clear that management is more concerned with calming down the drama than protecting her safety. I want to know how to protect her at this moment. Any support or shared experience would mean a lot. Comments. Commenter 1. Time for her to document the shit out of this and talk to a lawyer. Commenter 2. She should tell her boss that she should have consulted an employment lawyer after the first time the company refused to intervene in his inappropriate behavior. That's what she could have done differently. But now, write down everything she can remember. Names, dates, circumstances, names of witnesses. Commenter 3. This sounds insane. First, your friend should make a police report, and she should name the other female witness. Once she does this, it will trigger a whole series of protections for her, including retaliation. You may think this may be extreme, but if this guy continues getting away with this, it will get worse and worse, and he will eventually cross a line. Sounds like he may have already. I can't imagine acting like that and still having a job. Showing prior complaints to a neutral third party, the police will bolster your claims from a simple he said, she said. Second, she needs to record every interaction. I don't care if there are security cameras. I wouldn't put erasing the tapes past people like this. Anytime that guy gets within her field of vision, she needs to take out her phone, start to record a voice note, and place the phone in her pocket upside down so the microphone isn't obstructed. Organize every recording. And as someone else in the comments said, time to look into hostile work environment laws. I don't mean to get all dramatic here, but I'm in my 40s and I can guarantee if your boss has to take sides, even if you and this guy are alike in every way except gender, he's going to take the guy's side. Trust me. Stories number 10. My husband's childhood best friend humiliated me during a photo shoot. I've been sitting on this for a few days, trying to decide if I'm just being dramatic or if I've been letting too much slide for too long. So, I 30F have been happily married for a few years now. My husband 31M is honestly a gem, kind, patient, hilarious, loyal. Basically everything you'd want. Which, after having an ex cheat on me with his best friend, is kind of a big deal. That relationship wrecked me for a while, but I worked hard not to drag the wreckage into something new. And my husband? And thankfully, my husband's never given me a single reason to question him. Until now? Maybe? I do not know. My husband and I have a great relationship, and we're pretty social and often hang out with each other's friends. I get along with almost all of his group, and they've honestly made me feel welcome, except for her, his childhood best friend. Let's call her C. C has always been cold to me. Not outright rude, just subtle enough to make me feel crazy for noticing. You know that kind of vibe? Every time we've been in the same room, she's managed to talk around me, not to me. I tried. I really did. I've smiled, made conversation, been nothing but warm. Even when she's given me nothing to work with, she doesn't show up to group hangouts, but she'll invite him over. And he always tells me, to his credit, he never goes without mentioning it, and he's never weird or secretive about her. But it still rubs me the wrong way. I've tried being friendly. I've tried small talk. Hell, I invited her to our birthdays, barbecues, engagement dinner. She bailed on all. She skipped our wedding too. And she only ever seems to reach out to him. Usually when she's just been dumped and needs to talk. When I've brought it up, my husband says I'm overthinking it. That C is just a little odd socially. Maybe she is. Then, a few weeks ago, out of nowhere, she messaged me. She asked if I'd model for her project. Totally unexpected. And I was caught off guard enough to say yes. Part of me thought, maybe this is her trying to connect. Maybe this was her olive branch. I even felt a little hopeful. God, I was naive, so I agreed. My husband offered to come with me since he hadn't seen her in a while and thought it'd be fun to catch up after. When we got there, her family was also involved. And from the second I walked in, it was like stepping into some passive-aggressive Twilight Zone. Her mom and sister kept calling my husband our son-in-law. I laugh, awkwardly. Think I must have misheard. It only got worse. During the shoot, came more of the snarky comments. Jokes about the one that got away, and some bonds never fade. Her mom, at one point, literally said, "We always thought C would end up with him. But life has its detours, I guess. C always imagined walking down the aisle with him." And then, it's sweet of her to fill in, though. Oh, come on. I wish I was exaggerating. And C just kept snapping pictures, smiling, saying nothing. No hey, cut it out. No awkward laugh. No redirect. Nothing. My husband? Clearly uncomfortable. I watched him fidget through the whole thing, clear his throat a few times. He tried to change the subject or came nearby me during the shooting. He didn't say much either. Just went kind of quiet. I stuck it out for an hour. Let her take her photos. Smiled, posed, whatever. But the whole time I felt like I was part of a social experiment and everyone else was in on the joke, but me. When we got in the car, he was silent for a while. Then finally said, "Sorry about all. That was weird, right?" And honestly, I didn't even know what to say. Because yeah, it was weird. It was borderline disrespectful. And the fact that he was there, saw all of it, clearly felt it too, and still didn't step in or pull the plug. It makes me feel kind of alone in this. I'm just tired. Tired of pretending this woman is harmless or just awkward. She knows exactly what she's doing. Two don't want to start a huge fight. But I'm at the point where I don't want her in our lives. Not as a friend. Not as a ghost in the corner of our marriage. No more bending over backwards to be the cool wife. I'm not interested in earning points with someone who clearly doesn't want me around. Anyway, thanks for letting me scream into the void for a minute. I really needed to get this out. Edit. Sorry guys, English is not my first or even second language. Sometimes it is harder to get my points feelings across. Just to clarify a few things people were asking about. C is actually a photography major, and this shoot was part of her final project. I'm not a professional model or anything, but I've done some hobby modeling here and there. So when she asked if I'd help out, I thought it was a casual favor. Why at her house? She comes from a wealthy family and has a fully set up photo studio in their house, which is why the shoot happened there instead of at a regular studio. I honestly thought it'd just be her and the camera, not a full audience with drinks and commentary. Additional background. I grew up in a pretty emotionally abusive household, so I think I've gotten too used to passive-aggressive comments and just sort of freeze up. Maybe that's why I didn't react more in the moment. But yeah, it definitely hit harder after the fact. I will update you as soon as possible. Thank you for all your comments. Consensus. People say she is a doormat and that her husband is cheating with his best friend with a 100% probability. Comments. Think I was so used to brushing off this kind of behavior that I didn't even realize how deeply disrespected I was. I grew up in an emotionally abusive household where snide comments and passive aggression were just part of the background noise. So when someone pulls that kind of crap now, I think a part of me automatically minimizes it like, "Oh, I've heard worse," but reading all your reactions kind of snapped me out of that. And yeah, it hurts that my husband didn't shut it down. I've been trying to rationalize it in my head like maybe he didn't want to escalate things because it felt like a trap, or that he is not used to being in these kind of situations. None of that excuses it, though. Not even a little. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. Really talk. Not brush it off. Not laugh it away. Just lay it all out. Because at this point, I need to know where he stands. Thanks for the reality check. I needed it more than I realized. I get why it sounds off. I probably would have side-eyed the whole thing too if I wasn't living it in real time. So no, I'm not a professional model. She just needed someone for a thesis project, and I've done a little hobby modeling here and there. So I figured it was casual enough to help out. I guess she didn't want to go through the trouble of hiring someone last minute. As for the location, C comes from money. Like, money. They'd converted part of their house into a kind of makeshift studio for her to work in W. Lighting, backdrops, the whole deal. So that's where we did it, which I didn't think was too weird until I got there and her whole family was hanging around like it was dinner theater. Drinking wine, making snide comments, just watching. It was honestly awkward as hell. I definitely wasn't expecting that. I thought it'd just be her and a camera, not a whole audience and running commentary. Fair enough, haha. I get that parts of it might come off a little stiff or off. This is actually my first time writing anything like this on Reddit, and English is my third language. I wish I had made it up, because being there felt like some kind of fever dream I wasn't invited to participate in. If she has a job or is financially tied to her husband, yes, I work as a performance marketing manager, and we actually rent at the moment. Update. A quick recap for those who missed the original. My husband's childhood best friend C has never liked me. She skipped all invitations, but invites my husband alone, avoids me in person, and still found little ways to insert herself into his life. The final straw? She asked me to model for her final photography project. I showed up thinking maybe it was a fresh start. Nope. Instead, I got publicly mocked by her family, who joked out loud that she should have been the one marrying my husband. First off, holy crap. I did not expect that post to blow up like it did. Thank you to everyone who commented, messaged, or just made me feel like I wasn't losing my mind. So many of you asked for an update. And here it is, for those wondering. No, they never dated. He had a high school crush on her over a decade ago. That's ancient history. No, I don't think he's ever cheated, emotionally or physically. He's always very open and honest. We have each other's passwords. They barely see each other anymore in person, maybe once every few months. We live about 2 hours away. Okay, so here's the update. Funny enough, I didn't even get the chance to sit down and talk to my husband before something else happened. I just can't believe my life at the moment. Anyway, I was still trying to process what happened and sort through my anger towards C, and honestly, toward my husband too. That's when I got a message from my sister-in-law. We'll call her M. I'm really close with M. She's also part of the wider social circle that C floats around in. They're friendly, but not close. She sent me a screen recording from C's close friend story with a simple WTF. It was a clip of me posing during the shoot, and no music. But in the background, you can clearly hear C's sister say, C should have been the one to marry him. I lost it. I waited until my husband got home from work, sat him down, and showed him the video. He watched it once, then again. His whole face changed. He finally looked pissed. I could not help but think, why didn't he have the same reaction there? So I laid it all out. I told him everything. Every snide comment. Every time C made me feel small. How I'd always try to be civil. How I never asked him to choose between us. But I was done being polite while someone consistently disrespected me. I told him, if this doesn't bother you enough to act, we've got a bigger problem. I'm not going to be in a marriage where I have to beg to be defended. I need a partner who stands up for me. And if that's not you, then I need to rethink this. He didn't argue, didn't get defensive, and I know he feels sorry. Then I showed him the Reddit post. He tried to read every comment. Some of them made him tear up. When he finished, he looked at me and said that he feels like the worst husband. He let this happen right in front of him. He is so sorry. And asked me, what do you need from me now? I told him straight up, this isn't just about her anymore. It's about whether or not you're willing to protect this marriage. But I'm not going to feel like I'm second place in my own relationship. So it's either me or her. So we called C. She picked up all cheerful, acting like nothing had happened. We brought up the video. She immediately got defensive. Oh, come on, it was just a joke. Are you really mad over that? Seriously? And that's when he stepped in. This isn't just about the video. It's the constant disrespect toward my wife. I didn't say anything before because I didn't want to lose your friendship, and I convinced myself you didn't mean it. But what happened at that shoot? That was disgusting. My wife came to support you, and you and your family treated her like a joke. I didn't speak up then, and I'm ashamed of that. But that ends now. I don't even know why I held on to this friendship for so long. If you can't respect my wife, you don't respect me. She laughed, literally laughed. Wow, you're really cutting me off over that girl. OMG, I was ready to fight. But husband calmed me down, said to C, if choosing between you and my wife ever felt like a hard decision, I wouldn't deserve her. We're not kids anymore. You need to grow up. I simply do not want to be your friend anymore. I have nothing else to say. Telling you he can be a gem sometimes. But yeah, we blocked her and her entire family. Since then, he's been checking in with me. Not trying to fix things, just showing up, listening, understanding. He finally sees what I've been dealing with. We've still got some healing to do, but now I know where he stands. And that changes everything for me. To everyone who commented last time, thank you. Seriously, you helped me feel like I wasn't crazy. And maybe even more importantly, you helped him finally see it too. Consensus. People are glad husband stepped up. Update 2. Hi again. I wasn't going to post a third time, but a bunch of people kept asking for an update, so I figured I'd just close this out. Also, oh my god, I honestly didn't expect my original post to get that much attention. I wrote it when I was angry and exhausted and needed to vent. I thought maybe like 5 people would see it, and I'd feel slightly less crazy. Instead, it kind of exploded. My husband actually found the post too. Someone in our extended circle sent it to him without realizing it was me. He put it together after reading a few lines, and yeah, let's just say he felt even worse after seeing it all written out and reading the comments. But maybe that was a good thing, because it made everything hit him on a deeper level. Anyway, the update itself isn't dramatic. After that last call, we blocked C and her whole family. And that was it. No follow-up, no weird texts, no fake apology, nothing. Just silence. And honestly, that silence was kind of the best thing she ever gave me. My husband's been great. Not doing too much or trying to overcompensate, just steady. He finally sees how much I was putting up with. He's been more protective in a real way, not just in words. He owns how passive he was before. It doesn't feel like we've been trying to move on. It just feels like we're on the same page now. I think the biggest shift is internal. I'm not second-guessing myself as much. I'm not trying to win people over who've already decided not to see me. I feel a lot more grounded, and it's because I finally spoke up instead of brushing things off. So yeah, not much drama, but a lot of clarity. Thanks to everyone who commented or messaged or just listened. I'm probably going to delete this account soon, but this thread honestly helped more than I can explain. For anyone else dealing with subtle disrespect that makes you question your own gut, you're deaf not imagining it. You're not being dramatic. You don't have to keep being the bigger person just to stay nice. Anyway, that's it. Thanks again. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my wife my childhood friend will never forgive her for what she did. My wife 32F and I 34M have been married for 6 years, together for 10. We have a 4-year-old son. A few years ago, my close childhood friend 34F got married. We've been extremely close since we were kids. Both our families were dysfunctional in different ways. At one point, my dad cheated on my mom with her mom. They got married, divorced a year later, and we basically ended up abandoned by both sides. Through all that, we became really close with each other. She even has 2 tattoos that relate to our bond. I would have gotten a tattoo too, but I'm sort of scared of needles. My wife was actually close to my friend too, and never showed signs of being insecure about our friendship until postpartum hit. After our son was born, she really struggled. Her emotions were all over the place, and she became extremely insecure about my relationship with my friend. I was supposed to be man of honor at my friend's wedding, help plan things, and be a big part of the ceremony. But my wife was so anxious and uncomfortable, she begged me not to attend. It made me really sad, but I chose my wife. I told my friend I couldn't go and told her why. She was really hurt by it. Not angry, just really sad, but said she understood. A couple months later, my wife fully recovered and apologized, both to me and to my friend. I forgave her. My friend, however, didn't. When my wife reached out to my friend to apologize, my friend was polite but direct. She said she never wanted to speak to her again. She didn't yell or make a scene, she just drew a boundary. Honestly, I get it. It was a once-in-a-lifetime day, and she'd leaned on me for years, and I bailed. I still feel guilty about it. My friend and I still talk regularly. Nothing inappropriate. We're just close. Always have been. Recently, my wife asked if there was any chance my friend would forgive her. I told her the truth. No. That ship sailed. My wife got sort of quiet and looked sad and hasn't brought it up again, but I wonder if I was too blunt. Aita for not giving my wife hope and just telling her forgiveness probably isn't happening. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Asking out of genuine curiosity. How is this going to work? Is your bestie gonna skip all life milestones and celebrations on your end? Or is it expected that she will be there and your wife is uncomfortable? Is it safe to assume your bestie isn't involved in your child's life? I'm just trying to fully understand the situation. Reply. Surprisingly, it doesn't actually change too much. We've always had our own little way of celebrating milestones, just the two of us. Like for birthdays, promotions, or any personal wins, We usually do something simple but meaningful like grabbing dinner at our favorite spot, exchanging gifts, or just spending a few hours catching up. That's always been our tradition, even before we had other people in our lives. Obviously, the bigger get-togethers with all four of us, me, my wife, her husband won't be happening anymore. But those weren't really the core of our friendship. She's not involved in my child's life, and I'm not looking to be involved in her future kid's life either. We actually agreed a while back that keeping our friendship separate from family stuff was the healthiest way to go. Too many complications otherwise. And yeah, my wife and her used to hang out occasionally, but that part of things has naturally ended now. Commenter 2. Everyone is congratulating you for choosing your wife, but I don't see it that way. It seems you technically did choose her, but you were too honest with your friend. Yes, too honest is a real thing. She didn't need to know the ins and outs of your wife's mental health crisis. But you shared that with your friend to make the excuse of picking my wife. You turned the situation into a friend versus wife scenario, and the whole time, it was really a wife versus her own mental health situation. As a father of a newborn or a baby who is a few months old, you could have made excuses for not attending the wedding without sharing the insecurity aspect of your wife's struggles. The friend didn't need to know that information if you were truly picking your wife. It would have been harder, but the fact that you are allowing your friend to maintain no contact with the wife while y'all hang out and do whatever is shady to me. Your wife, and you should be a package deal. If you were really picking her, that would be the case. Sure, your wife drove the decision, and sure, you technically picked correctly. But since then, you have abandoned your wife with her guilt over an incident that happened when she was out of her mind. You aren't working to help resolve the conflict or smooth things over. You're letting your wife know she shouldn't even expect your best friend to treat her better because she's so awful to have needed you during her PPD. That trash behavior, and I truly hope you recognize that. And instead of just letting your friends treat your wife like she doesn't exist, set your own boundaries and say, look, I know it wasn't ideal, but I needed to be with my family, and they aren't going anywhere, so if you continue to blame and ostracize my wife, which hey, you can totally do that, your choice. Just know I can't allow someone who can't hold sympathy for my life partner to be my best friend. That title is important and means things, and one of those things is not being a jerkwad to my wife. After all, if you can forgive me for supporting her during that time, why can't you forgive her for this? Regardless of how you handle this going forward, if your best friend and your wife are no contact, eventually you'll have to pick a side again, and it seems like you haven't picked wife's side in a hot while. YTA, ETA, Readops 1 comment. He's trash with his "we agreed to stay away from each other's families as that's healthier" BS. I stand by my YTA. Commenter 3. Your wife's mental health episodes after birth should not be held over her head for the rest of her life. Sure, it was massively inconvenient, but these episodes never happen at convenient times. I'm happy she got better and owned up to it. That is more of a positive than you will ever know. There is something that's bothering me, though. Let me ask you this. If your wife had cancer and the same type of emotional responses happened, would you still think your friend should cut her off? What about a stroke that can temporarily change cognitive functions? What about? I could go on, but I hope you see my point. In my view, your wife went through something that physically altered her mental state and mental health. This wasn't a bad day. This was chemical and hormonal changes causing imbalances culminating in a mental health crisis from giving birth to your child. Sure, you missed an event, but your wife was missing her soul with no warning while welcoming the new life she just pushed out. If your friend can't see this was a family crisis that needed you, is she really the friend you say she is? If you can't see it, are you really the support you think you are? When you say you prioritized your wife, go all the way with that, dude. It shouldn't stop just because your friend can't understand your family will always take priority. Update. Wow, I didn't expect the sheer gravity of responses I got. Reading through everyone's perspectives really opened my eyes. A lot of you reminded me that my wife went through a really tough mental condition postpartum, and regardless of how much it hurt my friend, my wife doesn't deserve to be punished forever for it. So a couple of days ago, I had a long, honest talk with my friend. I told her that my wife and I are a package deal, and while I understood why she was so hurt and disappointed, my wife had already repented and apologized enough. I told her that if she truly valued our friendship, she needed to hash it out with my wife so we could all move forward. It was a really emotional conversation. My friend was very sad at first, and we talked a lot about the past and how things had changed. Eventually, she agreed. Later that day, she called my wife, apologized for holding the grudge, and accepted my wife's apology too. And they had a nice, happy talk. My wife was honestly so relieved and happy. It felt like a huge weight was lifted. During my talk with my friend, she also said she really misses hanging out with me like we used to before all this marriage drama. She said she would accept the apology, but she just wants to spend more one-to-one time with me again. I accepted that, told her I appreciate her honesty, and assured her that I still value our friendship deeply. She seemed really happy about it. So yeah, that's probably my final update. My wife is happy, my friend has let go of the resentment, and I feel like I finally did right by both of them. Thank you all for your advice. It really helped me see what I needed to do. Top comments. Commenter 1. Everyone congratulating you on picking your wife when you clearly said you planned to spend more one time with a woman who caused significant problems in your marriage and lacks the compassion to understand PPD. Still not picking the wife. Still an AH. Commenter 2. Okay, so from the previous post, it sounded like your wife was going through postpartum, dealing with a lot of insecurity and mental illness, and she needed you at her side. Meanwhile, there is this other woman that is not your wife that has tattoos related to your bond that is very close to you. It's kind of impossible for her not to feel a type of way about it deep down. Regardless of all that fact, your wife was going through some really horrible times birthing your kid. Are men this incapable of realizing the toll childbirth takes on the woman's body? Because in the first post, you literally sounded like you blame your wife as well and resented her for needing you to do your job as her partner. Still, she apologized to you and your friend, but your friend still held a grudge unnecessarily, might I add, because when it came to your wife, none of it was done maliciously. You had to basically give your friend an ultimatum in order to accept your wife's apology. You do realize she wasn't going to take that apology. If you didn't phrase it to her, she would also lose you, right? And it's proven when after all that she still requests to have only one-on-one time with you. So you are a husband and a father. Like, are we reading the same thing? Where is the emotional maturity everybody's talking about with you? It literally took Reddit to push you to use your brain to realize as a married man and a father, you should put your wife's and kid first. Your wife deserves better cause. What the hell is this? Just know. Stories number 12. I 26F have been dating my boyfriend 29M for about 8 months. We were having sex the other night, and he said, "You sound just like X's name when you moan." I brought up how this hurt my feelings, and he said that I'm insecure and blowing this out of proportion. Am I overreacting? Like I mentioned, my boyfriend and I have been dating around 8 months. Things have been good overall, though I have occasionally felt like he isn't completely over his ex-girlfriend. He's brought her up a few times randomly, mostly in the "I'm so glad you're not like her" kind of way, but still, it was often enough for me to notice. Anyways, like I said in the title, yesterday we were having sex, and in the middle of it, he made a comment saying that I sound like his ex-girlfriend. I kinda just froze. I didn't really know how to react in the moment, just because I was so thrown off. But afterwards, I told him that the comment really disturbed me and made me feel gross and objectified. Like, why was he thinking about his ex while sleeping with me? When I brought this up, he turned it back around on me, saying that if I was secure in our relationship, that I wouldn't be this upset. He says that I'm just being overly sensitive. Am I overreacting? Was it just an offhand comment, or is this really as bad as it feels? Comments. Commenter 1. Ex-boyfriend you mean, right? That's like relationship 101 that you don't bring up an ex during sex, and that last line of would have been an immediate "we are done." Reply. Yes, I have broken up with him. Just don't understand why he turned so cold. Commenter 2. Just imagine how he'd react if you had said something like, "Oh, you do that," just like insert ex-boyfriend's name here. Reply. Oh, he would have flipped out, called me every name in the book, and broke up with me immediately. Commenter 3. Next time tell him, he sounds like your ex when he moans and see. Reply. Fortunately, there won't be a next time. I think this was just the final straw. He has been emotionally and mentally abusive before, but to not understand where I'm coming from and downplay my emotions about something like this just really proved to me that my feelings, and I don't mean much to him at all. Commenter 4. Well, in that case, you made the best decision ever. Focus on yourself for now. Enjoy your you time. You need it. Update. Hi again. I'm not sure if these type of images are allowed, but I wanted to update you all since a lot of you helped me muster up the courage to finally end things completely and grab my things. This is a follow-up to my last post where I shared that my now ex-boyfriend told me I reminded him of his ex during sex, and then got angry when I told him that was disturbing to me. I received so much support and validation from that post. Thank you again to everyone who helped me realize I wasn't crazy for being upset. I ended things with him shortly after that. I told him this morning that I was going to his place to grab my stuff after I got off of work. I work night shift. I walked into his apartment to see all my things had been thrown everywhere. But the moment I walked in, his entire demeanor changed. I walked into him just waiting for me to get there. I told him again that I was just there to collect my things and leave. He blocked the door, grabbed my arm when I tried to move past him, and when I pulled away, he pushed and drug me away from the door. The second he was distracted, I just booked it out of there. Left all of my things there. I didn't fall. I didn't scream. Ultimately, physically, I'm okay. I just can't stop replaying it in my head. The thing that breaks me is how unsurprising it felt. Like somewhere deep down, I already knew this person had it in him. I just didn't want to believe it. I'm safe now. I've blocked him, told a few people close to me, and I'm deciding what I want to do next. I haven't reported anything yet, but I'm keeping my options open. I'm mostly just numb and sad and tired, but also relieved that I'm finally out. Thank you again to everyone who helped me see this situation for what it really was. You probably helped me dodge something so much worse. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm sorry this happened to you, and I'm sure you're still processing, but you're already trying to talk yourself out of it being a big deal. He didn't get physical, he assaulted you. File a police report, and while you're at it, see if one of them will escort you to get your stuff because fuck this asshole. Please get this on the record, because there's a good chance his behavior will escalate further. Reply. Thank you for validating my feelings and helping me realize this isn't just foul play. I think I'm downplaying it just because it hasn't truly hit yet. If that makes sense. We always fought and argued, but nothing like this. Nothing physical. I guess I'm just in shock still. But I do plan on following this up. I know that if he does this to me, there is a chance for him to do it to other people as well. Not only do I want to protect myself, but I feel the need to protect other people too. This is all just so heavy right now. I don't want to wait too long, but I'm also just so exhausted. I just want to pretend none of this even happened, you know? I wish I could have gone back in time and never went to get my things. Commenter 2. You really should report it. You need a paper trail in case he decides to continue elsewhere. And request a police officer to go with you to collect your stuff. You shouldn't have to lose anything over him being an abusive a-hole. Reply. Yes, I am going to go down the police station here soon to report this. As far as my things, I'm not sure if I even want them back anymore. I know having a police officer there will be safest and smartest. However, even thinking of it all right now makes me freeze up. I don't think I'm ready for the face-to-face interaction yet. I'm not sure if they could make him leave while I get my things since it's his apartment. Update. Hi all, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. There are so many comments here, and I haven't been able to go through them all yet, but I'm incredibly grateful for every single one. The support, encouragement, shared stories, and heartfelt advice from so many of you mean more than I can express. Knowing I'm not alone in this has truly helped me stay grounded during one of the hardest moments in my life. I wanted to give a quick update. Early yesterday morning, I went to file a police report. It was overwhelming and emotional, but I did it. The officers were kind and professional. They escorted me back to the place to collect my belongings, and my ex was made to stay outside while I gathered everything I could. I'm safe right now and surrounded by people who care. To the people who encouraged me to turn to my family, thank you. I was terrified, but I did it, and they were incredibly accepting. I had the fear of being told, "I told you so," and the feeling of embarrassment as it felt like they were right about him all along. They didn't question me, blame me, and didn't make me feel as if I needed to explain or defend myself. I felt heard, safe, and loved for the first time in a long while. I'm still slowly reading through each of your replies, and I will continue to do so. Your words are helping me find strength and clarity. Thank you again for standing with me, even as strangers. It truly means the world. I apologize for making you all wait for an update, but things have been hectic and I have been trying to process everything. Again, thank you all so much for your support, kindness, and patience. It truly means a lot. I am so grateful for this community and the people in it. Stories number 13. Aita for removing my fiancé's friends from the wedding party after they confronted me about my family's gifts. My fiancé 32F and I 33M have been together for 4 years. We met through common friends, and after a while of casually hanging out we began dating and now are engaged. She has a core friend group of 4 people including her. 2 guys, one of whom is her cousin, and a girl, and they have been very close since childhood. When I had first met the other three, before we had begun dating, they seemed like nice people, fun to hang out with. But when I was reintroduced to them as her BF, things were different. I knew they were judging me, which is fine. I knew there would be a friend's test I would have to go through. But now, 4 years later, it still feels like I am being tested. So for some background, my GF is sweet, caring, empathetic, and sensitive. She has been hurt in past relationships. We have spoken about it briefly. She gets upset when we talk about it, so I have never pushed her much. But from what I know, while she was never physically abused, they were still toxic relationships. May have involved emotional abuse. Considering that, I get her friends being protective. Early when we were dating and gradually became serious, her friends always found ways to, I don't know how to explain this, show me my place in her life, if that makes sense. They would whisk her away if we were together, barge into our dates. She shares everything with them, so they knew where we were going on dates. The only way I could get her to myself is if I planned a surprise getaway. But how many of those can you do? When I reached my saturation point, we talked. She has a blind side with them and never noticed what they were doing. After I pointed it out, and she saw it happen the next time they did it, she called them out, threatened to stop talking to them. After a bit of bickering, they relented and apologized. To her, not me. Anyway, things got much better after that. Cut to recently. I know she is the one for me. I love her immensely. In my culture, we don't have the whole proposing with a ring, but I knew she has always wanted that. I picked out a ring that belongs to my grandmother. It is part of a jewelry set. In our tradition, when we get married, the new bride is welcomed to the family with the elders presenting her with heirloom jewelry. I know my grandmother will be giving her the remaining jewelry set as a wedding present. My parents and other elders in the family will also be gifting similar things. The thing is, these sets, they are traditional. I guess what I am trying to say is that they may be too gaudy by modern standards. My GF loved the ring, even though it isn't like the more conventional engagement rings. I know all these sets she will eventually get she won't wear. Probably ever. She likes to keep her style simple. But I just thought that gold is an asset. Even if she doesn't wear them, they are hers for any other use in life. My GF knows all of this. She never said anything about it. Cut to a week back. The trio came over when my GF wasn't home. They said that I was being selfish, that under the garb of tradition, I was forcing my GF to accept gifts she doesn't want. Mind you, we do have a bridal registry set up, and I know for a fact many family members, friends, and colleagues have already selected items from there. I told them that what my family gifts to my GF isn't their business. They said that I was no different from her past partners. I was also being emotionally abusive and gaslighting her. My GF had previously asked me to make her 2 guy friends my groomsmen. My brother is my best man, and I had agreed to make her happy. But after what they said, I told them then that they were no longer my groomsmen. When my GF got back, I told her what happened. While she agrees that her friends had no right to comment on the gifts my family give her, and she clarified that she does not share their opinion, she does feel I went too far and overreacted by removing her friends from the wedding party. She had always wanted all 3 friends to be a part of her wedding, and my rejection now means that won't happen. Update. Aita for removing my fiancé's friends from the wedding party after they confronted me about my family's gifts. First up, thank you to all the people who shared their support and for the comments that eventually led to a lot things getting cleared up. I knew asking for advice on Reddit is a double-edged sword. While many of the comments were helpful and encouraged to me seek some much-needed answers, others were more divisive. But I knew what I was signing up for when I posted here, so I accept that as a part and parcel of the Reddit experience. These past few days have been nothing short of a chaotic roller coaster. So much has happened in such short time. But before I get into everything, I want to make one thing very clear. My GF and I love each other deeply. She is a genuinely good person. I know that my original post may have unintentionally portrayed her in a negative light. The truth is, while she has been incredibly naive when it comes to her stooges and has often been easily manipulated by them, she has always stood up for me when it truly mattered. Her heart has always been in the right place. She did say that I overreacted when I kicked out the guys from the wedding party, and she was disappointed that all her 3 friends wouldn't be a part of the wedding. But that wasn't her only reaction. She also agreed that her friends had no right to come into our home and insult me. They had no right to make statements on her behalf about the jewelry, especially since they were false statements. After I changed the groomsmen to my cousin and friend, she supported the decision and did not insist that I take her friends back. After the incident, She hadn't immediately reached out to the trio to talk to them about what they did. She is not a confrontational person. She is not someone who can counter-argue on the spot. So, usually when she knows there is going to be, let's say, explosive conversation, she usually likes to write down points of what she wants to say. What she would say if XYZ what brought up this point. How would she respond if they said this to defend their action? Like that. She likes being prepared, I guess, is what I am trying to say. Especially with the trio, cause when such situations arise, she's usually defending me and our relationship, and it's always 3 against 1. I have tried in the past to help her, but I dislike understatement these guys enough that if I get involved in their conversations, it just always turns into a verbal spat, and that just makes her more stressed. Yes, she has missed several glaring red flags when it comes to her friends. But missing red flags does not automatically make someone a bad person. From her point of view, these people were the backbone of her social life. They have been in her life since childhood, and she has always seen them as supportive, protective, and caring. When you are that close to someone for that long, it can be extremely difficult to recognize toxicity. From the outside looking in, it might seem like she was being intentionally blind or refusing to accept reality. But when you're the one trapped inside that bubble, it is a lot harder to see things clearly. I had explained this in a comment on my previous post, but because people kept repeating the same questions, I thought it best to include it here again. We have had open conversations about the gifts before. She also told me that she had shown her friends pictures of the jewelry and talked to them about the gifts. She never once said she didn't want them or didn't like them. They simply assumed she wouldn't like them because they were not her usual style. But as it turned out, even that assumption was not innocent. We later found out that it was just another manipulation on their part. Stories number 14. Me, 21M, with my ex-GF, 19F. She has super conservative parents. We broke up a long time ago, but her parents just found out we had sex, and her dad just messaged me. What should I do? Hello, good people of Reddit. I frequent this sub a lot, and I know it's filled with lots of good people that gives pretty good advice. Throwaway because friends know my Reddit account. Sorry in advance if it sounds rushed or anything. I'm kind of rushed and just wrote what I could. It'll answer any questions that anyone may have. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep to the main essentials. I met Megan last summer, and we began dating. We were both virgins at the time. I had messed around with other girls before, but never had actually gone all the way before. She basically saw it as I had already lost my virginity though. She has really conservative parents, as do I, who believe that you should hold off until marriage to have sex, etc. Well, long story short, after dating for a while we began having sex. We always had protection and were careful. I just want to stress the fact that she was 18 at the time we started dating, and she turned 19 while we dated, although, because she was held back a year, she was still a senior in high school, while I was already in college. While we dated, her dad once asked me if I had ever had sex before, and I lied and told him no. She had told me to lie for us, so I did, and he knew where my parents worked, and I guess call me paranoid, but they have a history of doing rash decisions, so I didn't want there to be a chance where they would try to reach out to my parents and tell them what I had done. We broke up in February because the relationship wasn't working. We were fighting a lot, and we decided to split ways. It wasn't exactly amicable, but we have talked a handful of times since and have been civil. I've tried to push that whole relationship out of my life since and move on. So on to the problem at hand. She texts me today out the blue telling me if anyone from her family contacts me, to not tell them anything or answer anything. I asked her why, and she told me she told her sister she wasn't a virgin anymore and that she had sex with me and one other guy after we broke up. Her sister told her parents, so she wanted to warn me before they reached out to me. I didn't really think anyone would bother contacting me, so I shrugged it off and told her whatever and left it at that. Now her dad just sent me a message on FB telling me he needs to speak with me when I have a chance. I haven't opened up the message as to not show the read part, but I saw the little notification on my phone. Yes, I do realize that I'm 21, and if he tells my parents it shouldn't matter because I'm on my own and they don't really have a say in my life anymore, which they don't. But they believe about waiting till marriage for sex for religious reasons, and if they find out I had sex, it will really hurt them and most def make a rift in our relationship. I've already had a rocky relationship with them, and I don't want to make it worse. My question is, what should I do? Should I ignore the dad? What if he contacts my parents and tells them? Should I tell him anything? I don't want to argue whether I should care if my parents find out or about religious morals, just about the situation with my ex's parents. I really appreciate any advice and support you guys can offer. TLDR, Dated girl with strict religious parents. I have strict religious parents. I had sex with this girl. We broke up. I moved away to another state for college. She contacts me and tells me her parents found out about her having sex, and now her parents want to talk to me after months of no contact. Update. So I have been reading all of your comments and I appreciated everything everyone has been saying. I decided not to answer him and just waited out. She texted me again telling me she was sorry, but she came clean to her dad and she hopes everything works out and he doesn't take measures. I don't know what that means. Frankly, I don't really care. I agree that this is between him and her, and we've been broken up for a while. There's no reason why he should be looking to me for an explanation. She texted me and told me not to ignore her dad because he has my parents' phone number and will call them if he has to. I talked to my roommate and a few of my friends that live near my apartment, and they advised me to message him back, but feel out the conversation, not admit to anything, and not justify anything. It is what it is, and it happened. I honestly don't see what he gets out of talking to me or lecturing me or whatever he wants to do. I do hope he doesn't call my parents because that would be a real dick thing of him to do for literally no reason at all. Ugh, this whole thing is such a headache that I thought was supposed to be over with. I appreciate all the input, and I will update once I have something to update with. Update 2. Wow, this has really blown up way bigger than I thought it would. I've been reading through all of the comments and I appreciate all the advice from you guys. So on to the update. I woke up this morning and my dad called me. I feared the worst, but he only needed like basic tech support for his computer, and that was all he wanted. I felt relieved and went through my day. A little while ago, my sister calls me and asks me what my ex's dad's name is. I tell her, and she tells me that he called dad and left a voicemail saying he was going to try and call again today. Most of my family was there, and I was on speakerphone, so they asked if knew anything, and I told them I wouldn't know why my ex's family would try to contact them after us being broken up for such a long time. My dad said it was odd and he would wait for the call and see what was up. He figures her dad just wants advice on something, so he would let me know what it's about. I called my sister shortly after and told her why he was calling, and her response was literally bursting out in laughter. She thinks it's really weird for him to do this because he gains nothing from calling us. My ex is obviously not pregnant, and we both don't think he would try to pull the consent card, so we figured he just wants to tell on me, basically, and that would be that. My sister and my dad are hanging out all day today, and she told me not to worry about it, and it will be okay. She will be texting me and let me know or give me a heads up if anything happens. As soon as I get a response, I will let you guys know. Update. So I tried making this post a little while back, but it was taken down because it was an update. Either way, a lot of you asked for an update, so here it is. Hopefully this one isn't taken down. Wow. So that last post pretty much blew up more than I thought, haha. I want to thank everyone who commented on it. I may not have been able to respond to everyone, but I did read them and fairly enjoyed some of them, as well as appreciated the advice. So her dad called my dad and was very emotional and pretty pissed off that I lied to him in the sense that I not only told him I hadn't slept with her, but didn't plan on it. What else are you supposed to say? Yes, I plan on going hard on the paint. WTF? My dad was pretty taken back and didn't really know what to say. Her dad continued on saying how he wanted to let my parents know what a man whore I was and how I took his daughter's virginity and that it needed to be fixed. My dad just told him he was sorry. He was disappointed in me and he would handle it. He talked to him some more and calmed him down and then hung up and blocked his number. My dad called me and told me what had happened. I did not give them a heads up. He was pretty calm about it. For a bit, he thought the guy wanted money or something, but when he realized he basically just wanted to tattle, he just left it at that. My mom, on the other hand, called me shortly after and flipped out on me about how I could have gotten her pregnant. And did I even think about what would have happened if she got pregnant, or if I got an STD, and a whole bunch of other things. Basically a fun time. I went home this past weekend to pick up something from my parents' house I needed for my apartment. Something that was mine, just couldn't take it with me the first time because it didn't fit in the car, so it was a pretty awkward weekend. I did see my sister, and she made so many jokes about how one would go fixing a situation like this as how my ex wanted to. Because virginities are basically sold and given and whatnot. But yeah, that's the update. All is well for now. Many awkward where had relationship with parents is much strained. TLDR, dude called my parents, tattled on me. Went home, got awkward sex talk. Never stick your dick in girl with crazy family. Stories number 15. Aita for being closer to my sons than my daughters. I 38M have been married to my wife 34F for 7 years. We have 4 kids together, aged 7, 6, 4, and 4. 6-year and 4-year are boys, 7-year and 4-year are girls. Me and my wife got into a pretty big argument recently, and I need unbiased opinions. I feel like I've always been closer to my sons rather than my daughters. You know I'm a boy. I like boy stuff, so do they. I don't like princesses or dolls. So I've always gravitated towards my sons because we have more in common. Anyways, the argument started after my wife had put the kids to bed one night. I was laying down, and she came into the room and confronted me about what my 7-year-old daughter had just told her. According to my wife, as she was tucking my daughter into bed, she started crying and asked, "Why doesn't Daddy like me?" My wife told me that the kids notice how I treat them differently, and I needed to stop acting like I hated my daughters. I told her I don't hate them, but we don't have anything in common. She was pissed and started yelling at me about how immature I was being immature. I think it's stupid. Obviously, dads are going to be closer to their sons. That's just how the brain works. I tried explaining this to her, and she just didn't listen. She left, and I think she went to sleep in my daughter's bed. I'm not sure, so am I the asshole? I just want my wife to understand what I'm saying, and she's not listening to me. Relevant comments. So, your daughter at the young age of 7 has already picked up on the fact that her father dismisses her and her interests and makes no effort to find some common ground or mutual interest they might bond over. Or that he's incapable of occasionally feigning his interest in some of the books or toys she likes. Probably because he worries that his precious masculinity might take a hit? Yeah, it sounds like YTA. I just don't think I should waste my time doing something that I literally have no interest in. I don't like playing dolls. She can play that with her mom and her sister. If she wants to do something, she can pick something that we both enjoy. Your daughter thinks you don't like her. This is beyond. I'm not into princesses stuff. Also, why does it matter if you're into it? She is. Put in a tutu and dance with her. YTA, I'm not wearing a tutu. This is absolutely insane. Your 7-year-old broke down crying because she thinks you don't like her. My girls cry over everything. I know it upset her, but I don't think it should be this big a deal. Verdict, YTA. Later that day, my wife finds the post and leaves a comment. I am the wife. I found this post because when I went into our room to get my charger, he was asleep, but his laptop was still open with this Reddit thread. Idiot. I don't even have a Reddit account, so I needed to make this just so I can post here. First, I can assure you this is not fake as many of you here are suggesting. Here are a few other things my husband has done that he conveniently left out of his initial post. My daughter started crying to him about if he didn't like her, not to me. She only came to me when he didn't care. My husband has taken our sons on multiple vacations without our daughters. Using my money, might I add. My daughters were told that it was a boys' trip and no girls were allowed. He refused to do both of my girls' daddy-daughter dances this past Christmas because he thought it was stupid. I danced with them instead. He tried to make my girls clean up their brother's mess because it's a girl's job to clean. I could go on for hours. I want to give everyone some more context. My husband works from home. By working from home, I mean he is completely unemployed. I am the sole breadwinner for the family. I am a doctor. I take sole responsibility in caring for the kids. He does literally nothing. I bring them to all of their sporting events, school events, appointments, etc. Ever since we had kids, he was detached from our daughters. He used the same excuse he said in here. He's a boy and doesn't like girl stuff. It's pretty hard to not get along with small children. They quite literally will do anything. My 7-year-old would go run through the mud if it meant she got to play with her dad for 5 minutes. It's heartbreaking to see how much she yearns for a relationship with him. This is not super important, but my daughter loves boy stuff. She likes to go fishing with her grandpa and playing video games with her brother. So the excuse of her not liking boy stuff is dumb. He just doesn't like his daughter. A lot of people are probably wondering why I married him in the first place and why I haven't divorced him yet. To answer the first question, I was young and stupid. I ignored red flags and have now ended up here. I have put off divorce for so long strictly because it is hard to get a divorce. I am riddled with student loan debt, so I really couldn't afford it while taking care of 4 kids. This might have made me an asshole for not leaving sooner, but I'm done now. This has sealed the deal for me. I've been crying all night thinking about my daughters. Not only them, but I know my sons are not being treated right either. My 6-year-old has noticed how his father treats his sisters, and it makes him so sad. He has offered his spot on vacation multiple times so that one of his sisters can go, and his dad says no. I'm done with this. So when he wakes up tomorrow, he will be told to leave my house that I own, and that he will be hearing from my lawyer. I'm not putting up with him or any of his BS anymore. I love my kids more than life itself. Tomorrow morning, I am going to take all four of them out on an ice cream date while he packs his things. No limit on how much they can buy. They deserve it. Thanks Reddit for showing him how stupid he is. And thank you for going to bat for me and my children. Have a good night. My wife posts an update on her profile. Hi Reddit. About 6 months ago, my ex posted about being closer to our sons than our daughters. I found the post and made a comment under it. I have linked the post here. You can scroll and find my comment. I haven't really been back on Reddit since that night, but I came check it today and noticed I had a bunch of messages asking for an update, so I figured I would give one here. I don't want to go into much detail about everything just to protect my and my kids' privacy, but long story short, we are doing great. My ex has moved out of the house, and after we started the court process, he has lost all custody he had of all the kids. He definitely fought for it, but I had enough proof to block him from that. He doesn't have any visitation. Nothing. In the States, divorce is a long and complicated process, so it will take a while for everything to be official, but we are heading in that direction. My kids are doing great. They were all put in some kind of therapy and are healing. I've seen a change in all of them, and I'm so proud of how strong they have been. To everyone who went a bat for me and my kids, thank you. Redditors can be crazy, but I feel like I got the best outcome. You guys were all so supportive, and I can't thank you enough. To other women in a similar situation as me, I promise you will feel so much better once you leave. It's hard, and probably going to be one of the hardest things you will do, but the outcome is so worth it. And lastly, to my kids, I hope you never find this post, but if you do, hopefully when you're a lot older, just know I am so proud of you guys. Mom loves you more than the world, and I know you guys will do great things. Keep being the shining light in my life. Love you guys. Relevant comments. I'm oddly curious. Did he actually fight for time with all the kids, or just your boys? Surprisingly, he fought for time with all the kids. More recently, though, he's put in requests for supervised visits with my oldest son. Those have been denied. Congrats on tossing out the trash of a husband and father. I'm so happy you and your kids are free from him and can now begin the healing process. Mind if I ask, how did he take the divorce? He didn't take it well. It was a lot of, no, I'll try to be better, but I didn't want to hear it. He contacted my friends and family a bunch of times, but he seems to have calmed down now. He's moved in with his mom last I heard. Stories number 16. Wife says I need to get over it, but I can't stop obsessing over a prank that ruined my wedding experience and left me furious. I had an amazing wedding experience that was completely ruined by a prank my wife and friends played during the garter removal. Aita for refusing to let it go. During the reception, we were doing all of the usual wedding games. Eventually, I was told it was time to do the garter removal. As everyone gathered around us in the middle of the dance floor, my wife was sitting in a chair and my friends brought out a blindfold and told me I would be doing the garter removal blindfolded. I should have been suspicious at their grins, but I'd had some drinks, wasn't suspecting anything, put it on, and tried to be a good sport about it, as everyone seemed like they were having a great time, myself included. As soon as I was blindfolded, however, my wife slipped out of the chair and was replaced by one of my groomsmen. He's a friend of the family I've grown up with, but I would not say we're close. Now, I literally cannot stand him, although he's not a bad guy other than my anger at this prank. Sitting in the chair in place of my wife, my groomsman was in shorts with the garter around his thigh. My wife stood behind him and was talking to me as they walked me over to keep me fooled into thinking it was her. On their instructions, I got down on my knees and began reaching for what I thought were my wife's legs. Once I found the leg, I found the garter and began pulling it down. But at that moment I heard my wife saying, "With your mouth, with your mouth." So I leaned forward and grasped the garter belt in my mouth, to the shrieks and applause of the crowd. With the garter in my teeth, I pulled it down his leg, and then my wife actually came around to help me get it over his shoe because it got stuck. Once I had the garter, they told me to stand up and take off my blindfold. When I did, I was smiling because I thought I'd been a good sport and everyone was laughing so hard it seemed like everyone was having a great time. But when I took off the blindfold, everyone burst into even louder laughter. For a moment, the entire energy of everyone at the wedding was focused on nothing besides laughing at me being the soul, but of the joke. It felt awful. I was furious. I wanted to say and do a million different things, but I didn't. For some reason, I just felt that pretending it wasn't a big deal was the best defense, that showing anger would be confirming how badly I'd just been humiliated for their delight, and that would have made my humiliation all the worse. So I sucked it up, walked through the rest of the wedding while doing my best to keep a smile on my face. My wife could tell I was stunned, but she kept on going too. She definitely had no idea how badly I was taking it. Everyone was standing around us, and we couldn't talk openly about how I felt, at least not without ruining everything. And I didn't know whether I wanted to go there after all the effort and money put into the wedding. And I kept sucking it up the next day at the brunch, and for most of the next week through most of our honeymoon. At some point, I told myself that my wife didn't mean to hurt me, and there was no reason to ruin her wedding memories by telling her that my experience had been ruined. But then at the end of our honeymoon, I had had a few drinks, and I just couldn't help it. And once I started talking to her about it, I just went off. I told her it was trashy, that it hurt if not destroyed my trust and sense of intimacy towards her. I was harsh and got carried away. After at first apologizing a bit, she got upset and left me sitting out there. I think I just kept going because I felt hurt and wanted to maybe make her feel bad as well. To be honest, since then, it's been a difficult subject. I've told her I don't want to hear about the wedding. I don't want to write thank you notes, look at pictures. If it was tomorrow, I wouldn't make plans to celebrate our anniversary. My wife and I have a lot of strengths in our relationship, but I just can't stop thinking about this and the feeling when I took off that blindfold. I literally cannot stop my mind from replaying it over and over, and I get mad again every time. And perhaps the worst part of it is that it's all recorded. We had a professional photographer shooting a video, and in the video, I see at least 4 other people recording it on their phones. Watching the video, I find myself looking at the laughing faces of family and friends in the video, and there's a part of me that I'd never act on, that wants nothing more than to punch them all in their faces. The fact I know that these videos are out there makes it feel like it's constantly happening to me. My wife says that she's sorry, that she thought I would take it better and laugh it off, and that I need to move on. I think maybe Aita. No good is coming from obsessing over this. But I literally cannot let it go. I find myself coming up with reasons to be angry. I tell myself sometimes it was assault because I was tricked into putting my mouth on another man's leg with my consent. But I think that's just rationalizing my anger. I don't know. Edit. Wow. Thank you for all the responses. I'm digesting, and I have to say I'm genuinely feeling better just sharing this, even if some of you don't think I'm in the right. I'm definitely not as angry as I was when I wrote this. So there's that. Although it does come and go. In response to some of the questions, yes, I created this account to share this. I'm not AI or a bot. I genuinely don't know what karma farming is, but anyone who wants my karma can have it. It was the wedding planner who originally proposed the idea. She had done it at other weddings apparently, and she coached my wife and friends on how to do it, to drape her dress over his lap and to stand behind him talking to me. He was wearing his same groomsman shirt and coat, but had changed into shorts, a stocking, and flip-flops. My groomsman is now my brother-in-law BC. He's married to my wife's older sister. What I meant to say is that he's a good guy. We grew up together, and I like him, but I didn't consider him a best friend at the time. And now I'm no longer even thinking of him as a friend, in large part because I'm mad at him. I don't think there was a reason they picked him other than he's thin like my wife. I believe my wife when she says she thought it would be funny and that I wouldn't mind. I just don't think she thought of it from my perspective when it came to concluding this was a funny thing to do. Sometimes I tell myself this is what I'm mad about. It keeps changing really. A lot of people have asked what I expect my wife to do about it now besides apologize. I don't have a good answer to that and need to think about what that means. My favorite comment thus far is the guy who told me to wash the sand out of my vagina. Ha, fair play. Comments. Commenter 1. Nurse. So it was genuinely funny. It didn't embarrass me, and I actually thought it was cute to incorporate him participating in my job. Everyone laughed. But not at me. I'm pretty sure he was not super comfy about being that intimate taking off garter in front of everyone, so they gave him the diversion he needed. And I mean it is kinda weird when you think about it. Anyway, pranks shouldn't be used as an excuse to hurt people and then be mad about it. Also, was it her idea or the groomsman? Just wondering if she trusted your friend with what you would find funny. Commenter 2. To put it bluntly, the reason you can't get over it is because you felt disrespected at an event that's supposed to honor you and your wife and your union, and your wife was behind it. That's a really bad time to pull a prank, and shame on whoever thought it up and thought that was a good idea. Weddings are not there to humiliate the bride and groom. You need to express to your wife that you feel disrespected in your relationship. You want to feel love and respect from her just like she wants to feel those from you. And you didn't feel either of those things when she made you feel like a joke. Commenter 3. And get a refund from your planner and make sure this is plastered in reviews everywhere. The planner suggested it. So she ruined your day as a bare minimum money back. If you want to go scorched earth, you can sue for distress. Commenter 4. Maybe talk to the wedding planner and explain consent, not your wife's, but yours. That was an intimate humiliation, and not everyone is into practical jokes, particularly in such a public arena. Explain how it has affected you, and maybe make it a learning point for them going forward. Also, and I don't say this flippantly, talk to a therapist. You'll be amazed at how that can help put things into perspective, and I don't mean minimize. Your hurt is real. It can help you to learn to live with and accept. I wish you well. Stories number 17. Entitled Woman Thinks She'll Have My New Console. Okay, so when the Nintendo Switch 2 got released, I went in after work to pick it up. I had 4 days off to play, so yay. The employee knows me and asks, am I here to pick up my Switch? I say, yep, and she goes to the back to get it for me. As I'm waiting, M walks in and asks the other employee for a Switch 2 for her kid. He tells her they are sold out, but she can pre-order for the next shipment in a couple of weeks. Nope, she wants one now. At this point, mine has come out and getting bagged up. She looks at me when I'm past my bag and asks me for it. I tell her no, it's mine. She tells me it's for her son and he deserves it for getting all A's. Well, I have read a lot about these Karens. I tell her that this is for my son and he got a plus. So I walk out the door with my Switch. She follows me and we argue back and forth a bit. I will mention today my allergies have been acting up. So as she starts another tirade to why her son needs my Switch 2 more than my son, I feel a build-up for a sneeze now. Normally, I sneeze into a tissue, but today she was pissing me off. I just wanted to go home and play my new console. So I sneezed very forcefully all over her face, which was covered in my snot. I did feel a bit bad. So I said, oh, I'm sorry, this COVID is kicking my butt. The look on her face was priceless and gave me a pissed off look and stormed off. I hightailed it to my car and went home to set up and play some Mario Kart. Stories number 18. My dog needs to be euthanized, but he's not sick or depressed. My 12-year-old Australian Shepherd mix has a tumor in his toe that's been rapidly growing. A month and a week ago, the vet advised us to put him down very soon because toe cancer is really aggressive and he probably wouldn't last a month. It usually goes into the lungs or lymph nodes. The tumor is sticking out the side of his toe now, and today it's covered in blood and pus after he went outside for a while. I think it's best to euthanize before he gets sepsis, and it's very stressful and difficult to look at his foot, but the issue is, he doesn't act sick. He still wants to go for walks. He tried to chase a ball around outside. He loves to eat and has been gaining weight because I tried a very low-carb diet to slow or stop the cancer. He's the same old dog with the same old sparkle in his eyes. If he could talk, I don't think he'd want to die. I don't know if I should ask the vet for some antibiotics and let him live a while longer with a huge tumor growing on his foot. Update. A little over a week ago, I made the post about the vet trying to talk me into euthanizing my dog over a tumor in his toe. I followed everyone's advice and went to a different vet. This vet offered to do a fine needle test, which the other one didn't, and it came back as squamous cells, likely squamous cell carcinoma, or the vet thinks because of the location, the subgenera kind. The subguneal kind usually stays localized apparently. He did a chest x-ray and didn't find anything in his lungs, and his lymph nodes aren't swollen. He did a foot x-ray and the third digit looks dissolved and the tumor is mostly around the third digit, and he thinks they can take the whole tumor out. Other vets said he couldn't. It cost me $2,500 at the other vet to amputate the toe, not including a biopsy. This vet with cost up to $1,412 with a histopathology. The amputation is scheduled for next Tuesday. It just makes me sad that it had to be left that long, when it could have been fixed weeks ago if I was going to the right vet. The tumor is huge right now. Stories number 19. Aita for making my wife throw out a whole chicken. So, my wife decided she was going to try a new recipe for dinner tonight. It's a one-pot chicken thing with orzo. She ordered the groceries online this morning and then went to collect them around 11 a.m. She got back home around midday and unloaded everything from the car. Flash forward to 5:30 p.m. and wife returns from an afternoon walk with her friends. After 5 minutes of dinner preparing sounds, I hear a loud WTF. Where has the chicken gone? From the kitchen. I naturally assume that she forgot to order it, but she assures me there is a chicken somewhere. Eventually, she tracks it down. It has been in the boot of our car all afternoon. Now, the chicken wasn't a frozen chicken. The chicken was a whole, fresh, raw chicken in a sealed bag. Although it wasn't a particularly warm day, we still had a high of 16 degrees Celsius 60 F, and our car was sitting out in the sunshine all afternoon. I told my wife I was posting this, and she wants me to stress that the chicken was still cool to the touch. Personally, I wouldn't say the chicken was warm, but I also wouldn't call it overly cold. It's safe to say it was somewhere between fridge temperature and room temperature. After finding the chicken, I tell my wife I don't want to eat the chicken. She tells me we're going to eat the chicken. I go back to the couch and start Googling how long you can leave a chicken in the car for. I go back to the kitchen and tell my wife I don't want to eat the chicken. She tells me we're going to eat the chicken. I explain that I've Googled it, and we shouldn't eat the chicken. She keeps preparing the chicken. We have a back and forth like this for a while, at which point I pitch the idea that she can have the chicken and I can just make something simple for my dinner. She's not thrilled because she wanted to make this meal for me. At this point, I tell her I'm not going to eat it, and I feel like I'm being made to eat a chicken against my will. She then proceeds to walk out the door, get in the car, and head off in search of another chicken from the store. I feel like a bit of an asshole about it. I also feel like we may have wasted a perfectly good chicken. Stories number 20. My 36M boyfriend stormed out on my 30th birthday today and told me I ruined it myself. My boyfriend 36M and I have been dating a little over a year, and I honestly don't know what to think anymore. For some context, last year on this exact day, 29th birthday, I was blindsided with news that I unfairly and unexpectedly failed a clinical rotation in my doctorate program, Pediatric Acute Care Nurse Practitioner program. They failed me 8 months before graduation, and the program is 4 years total. I would have graduated in May. I've spent the last year grieving that severe depression, and just last month, I finally got to re-enter the class. I am now working with a lawyer and spending thousands of dollars because the same mentor and professor tried to dismiss me unfairly again during the first week of classes, after 1 year of waiting to retake this class, as it is only offered once a year in June. Just yesterday, the lawyer asked me for a time-sensitive document and also has asked for one today on my birthday. He came over unexpectedly last night, even though I told him I had a lot to do. I barely slept. This morning I was tired, low energy, and emotionally drained, not mean or trying to pick a fight. I asked what we should do today. Our only plan was an 8 p.m. dinner with my family, and he just said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I got frustrated. I've been carrying so much lately. I was hoping he'd just step up, make a plan, or even grab a coffee or breakfast to start the day. I took a shower, got ready ECT. About an hour's worth of time, and I thought when I went downstairs around 10:30 a.m., he would have a coffee waiting for me since I expressed I wanted one. Well, went downstairs, and he was sitting on the couch with a grim look on his face. I said, "You didn't get a coffee or anything?" He got defensive and said I was being ungrateful. He ended up yelling at me, storming out, telling me I ruined my own birthday, cursing at me, and that I should sit with the consequences of how I acted. He left around 11:30 a.m. and hasn't contacted me once. We have a dinner reservation tomorrow with some of our friends, but he already told me we'd go for the sake of the guests, not to celebrate me. Now it's 6 p.m. I still haven't heard from him. I need to write another legal document for my lawyer since today is the last day of the semester, and I'm under intense pressure to get it written ASAP. My boyfriend knows all of this. I'm so depressed and overwhelmed that I can't move. I don't even want to go to dinner with my family anymore. He says I never take accountability. He says I make everything about me. But I didn't scream at him. I didn't insult him. I just expressed disappointment and hoped to feel special after the last year on my birthday. I also want to mention once he started yelling at me and insisting that I said he does nothing for me, which I know I did not, and telling me I owe him an apology and I need to take accountability, I lost it. He knows I am not okay, and all the pressure I am under and acting this way on my birthday. I started yelling back and crying and slammed my bedroom door. That's when he left and said, "Fuck you." I said, "You're really doing this on birthday? You know I was failed unexpectedly last year on my exact birthday, and I wanted to reclaim that." He said he didn't care and I should think about my behavior and that they have consequences. One more edit. His dad and I share the same birthday. He's very enmeshed with his family, which I usually don't mind since we live an hour apart and don't get to see each other daily. Before my birthday, he brought up using a hotel suite we had won during a Halloween contest to celebrate with his dad on Friday, my actual birthday. The hotel is meaningful to his parents because they spent part of their honeymoon there. He said we could celebrate my birthday the next day instead. Also, his parents don't like me because they think I'm unreliable and unserious my unexpected clinical failure, and my parents don't like him, as they are around a lot when he acts like this, and see me crying on the phone and anxious ECT, when I should be focused on school. So me celebrating with his family on Friday was not an option. I was a little disappointed. It was my 30th, and I hoped he'd want to spend the actual day with me, or at least part of it. But when I said that, he flipped out and called me selfish and yelled at me. I was already so emotionally drained from everything going on with school and the lawyer that I just told him it was fine. I even sent him screenshots of my mom telling me it wasn't a big deal and to let him celebrate with his family, just so he'd calm down and stop attacking me. Later, I found out his sister and her boyfriend were in Greece, so his family wasn't even celebrating that day and expected me to just assume he can come to dinner with my family and I. This left a bad taste in my mouth and ruined the excitement around my birthday. Is this on me? Or is he emotionally abusive and unsafe? Update. It's 8 p.m. and he knows I had a reservation at this time for my birthday dinner, but he had my location and sees I'm home. After ignoring me all day after leaving and cursing me out, he said, "I hope your call with the lawyer was productive and you have a nice birthday dinner with your family." Also FaceTime my multiple times. Will not be responding. Update. Went to dinner and trying to finish note on my phone as my parents were having a meltdown about me missing my birthday dinner 2 years in a row now, and also know my boyfriend does this during holidays and big events and refused to allow him to ruin my birthday after this past year. Update. He found the Reddit post and of course is saying my recall of events are inaccurate and that I was in fact the one who ruined my birthday and he has no part in ruining my birthday. Classic narcissist. Stories number 21. Aita for not letting my coworker borrow my makeup bag, even though I had it in my purse. I work in an office where everyone kinda does their own thing in the morning, coffee, emails, pretending to look busy. Anyway, there's this girl, let's call her Jess, who recently started sitting near me. She's super friendly, but a little too comfy, too fast. One morning I had my little makeup bag on my desk because I forgot to do my eyeliner before leaving the house. I was literally just about to touch it up when Jess walks over and goes, "OMG, can I borrow your makeup? I left mine at home, and I have a date after work." I kinda laughed and said, "Haha, sorry, I don't really share stuff like that," thinking it was NBD. Like mascara, eyeliner, lip balm. Those go near my face. I barely let my sister use my stuff. Well, she looked super offended and mumbled something like, "Wow, okay, it's not that serious," and then walked off. Since then, she's been cold to me. I heard from another coworker that Jess told people I was gatekeeping makeup and that I'm selfish, which I get wanting to look good, but it's not like I denied her CPR or something. Now I feel low-key awkward at work. Part of me wonders if I overreacted, but also, aren't makeup tools kind of personal? So yeah, AITA for not wanting to share my makeup bag with someone I barely know. Stories number 22. My 24FBF 27M booked our tickets for a different day. I'm tired, frustrated, and contemplating breaking up with him. What would you do in my place? I, 24F, have been dating my boyfriend, 27M, for 2 years long distance. We don't live together, but due to our demanding jobs, we try to see each other at least 3x month. Overall, I can say many positive things about our relationship. However, things took a turn a few weeks ago, and I can't seem to forgive him. For context, I'm very much a type A person. I need everything planned and to be in order. However, since I'm always planning things with friends, BF, or at work, I get worn down pretty quickly and it takes a toll on my mood. He, on the other hand, is very laid back and goes through life with an "it is what it is" attitude. So naturally, it has always been me who's been planning activities, booking places to stay, sightseeing, and holiday all throughout our relationship. A year ago, BF got me tickets for my favorite artist, and I've been excited ever since. I still had to book transportation, hotel, and plan activities though, but I didn't mind as long as we could get to see the artist in time. Spoiler alert, we missed the concert because BF booked the tickets for a different day and we couldn't get a refund. Safe to say, I've never been more disappointed in my life. I still feel physically, emotionally, and financially drained, and that I can't rely on him. I decided we needed to go on a break, and I've been talking with my friends and my therapist about what to do. My therapist said that I'm processing it as a betrayal and a breach of trust. My friends are telling me it's up to me if I want to continue the relationship, but if they were in my shoes, they couldn't trust him with anything ever again. I understand that it's a mistake anyone could have made, and in the end it's not that serious. He has apologized about 1,000,000 times and feels very sorry about how he let me down. But at the same time, all this pent-up frustration that's inside me keeps reminding me he had one job and still managed to ruin the experience for me. Of course, not everything is black and white. Besides this character flaw, he is a very good boyfriend, kind, funny, and we have the same opinions on politics, human rights, etc. Basically all the serious life stuff. I can't seem to get over this mistake though. We were planning on getting married and spending the rest of our lives together. Yet I don't want to end up being the only one pulling the weight. Advice would be greatly appreciated. TLDR, I always plan every activity. BF had one job of buying tickets and messed it up. I'm tired and I feel alone. I don't know what to do. Edit. There seems to be some confusion regarding booking and tickets. There were two concerts. One was happening on the 31st and second was on the 1st. BF told me we had tickets for the second concert, so I booked everything in accordance to that. Then on the 1st, he realized we had tickets for the 31st, so the day after we were supposed to attend the concert. Also, only he had access to the tickets. Hope that clears it up a bit. Edit 2. So far I've seen people form 3 stances in the comments. Break up with him, or I will have to manage him for the rest of my life. Give him a chance with a set of boundaries, or I'm actually neurotic, and he should break up with me. I've done some introspection and considering all the facts, uneven mental load, distance, how long we'd still be apart, my reaction. I've drafted a message explaining how I felt, highlighting how much I still care about him. I've also written a few questions to ask him about the future of our relationship. He probably thought a lot about our relationship as well, and if he doesn't want to be with me, I'm not going to force him. I'll ask him probably next week. Not sure if anyone wants an update on that though. Overall, this situation has saddened me, and I feel extremely uncertain about my future. Thank you to all kind Redditors who actually offered great advice. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is that all it takes for you not to trust him so things didn't go as planned, so what you are both alive and able to laugh about it and stick together to fix it? And the first thing that I would do is a therapist is right, you are feeling betrayed, but it happens he's not betraying you, you feel that way because you talk about him like he has betrayed you and never go to your friends for advice unless they are living the life you want, because what do they know? They're not in the same place you are. And if your life is built on plan and organization and you can get it together with your man, then I'd say your love is on a conditional basis and that ain't right top priority planner. Reply. I understand that. But as I said, I've been the one planning pretty much everything, and the one time he planned the trip, he couldn't bother checking the exact date for a year, and I still had to book everything without his help. It makes me feel alone, disrespected, and that he doesn't care about me. This planned trip got my hopes up. I made us matching t-shirts and have been talking about it for a year, and in the end it was all for nothing. Commenter 2. I'm kind of confused why you'd book everything without checking the dates of the tickets first. This seems like a bit of an odd hill to end a relationship on, as both are at fault unless I'm missing something. In general though, if the relationship is making you this frustrated, then you're probably just not compatible anymore, and that's perfectly fine. Reply. He told me the date, but it wasn't the correct one. He thought we were going to see the artist on the 1st, but we actually had the tickets for the 31st. He checked the tickets the day after our supposed concert. Before that, he hadn't checked them for an entire year, yet kept telling me the concert was happening on the 1st. Also, only he had access to the tickets. Hope that makes a bit more sense. OOP responds to a longer comment regarding if she is really compatible with her boyfriend. Are they on the same page altogether when it comes to planning dates or holidays? Reply. Thank you for your kind words. I do believe the relationship isn't simply black and white. While being with him, I believe we both grew as people and gave each other strength. I also don't want to dictate everything we do. I'm not some kind of control freak, even if this post might make me out to be one. Haha. We had similar issues regarding planning a holiday. I had to choose the destination, accommodation, search for fun activities we could do we'd both enjoy, and when asking about his input, I was met with, I don't care, as long as we're together, and other passive comments. I expressed to him jokingly we can compromise and he is allowed to share his opinion or plan an activity, but I never confronted him head on, so that might have been a mistake on my part. At first, it was attractive to me that he didn't stress about things that were out of his control, and I felt grounded by him and more at ease. But this mindset can't be applied in these serious circumstances. Other than that, the relationship's been nice so far. But I feel like this fiasco has shown me I can't really rely on him. I feel disrespected and defeated. I'm very emotional RN and don't want to make a serious decision, hence why I asked for an unbiased opinion. Commenter 3. Is he laid back at work? Does he forget dates and miss work deadlines? Or it is just with you? Reply. I actually have no idea. But his work is very serious and he uses a planner, so I doubt he has problems with the dates at work. In his personal life, I had to remind him of his sister's birthday, even though he has it marked in his planner. I'm starting to think he's bad with dates in general. Commenter 4. Please free this man so he doesn't have to deal with some neurotic woman. He harbors intense bitterness over an honest mistake to the point she needs to put the relationship on hold. It must be absolute hell being op mentally. Commenter 5. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I know how to let loose. In regards to serious matters, like doctor visits, traveling, or holiday, I want them planned so I minimize possible stressful situations that are out of my control. We've had issues in the past, and we communicated about them calmly. It's very bold of you to assume I'm neurotic, just because I want to be responsible and actually enjoy the event my boyfriend got me as a gift. Commenter 6. I would ask if I've brought up this issue before, and think back on how he's responded. Same with the apologizing. Is it acknowledging the wrongdoing and vocalizing steps to do better, or is it simply, oops, that's how I am, forgetful and irresponsible? I'd also compare if the go with the flow is the same when it's his things. Like if he forgets to do his own things that are important to him, it may be forgetfulness or some ADHD kind of thing. Reply. I've brought it up before. Only jokingly though, something along the lines of, you can also voice your input or plan something. You don't have to be afraid of me. So that's been a mistake on my part. In regards to apologizing, he said he's sorry and that he FD up multiple times, that he'll fix it. But the artist won't come to our area anytime soon. So for now, I think those are just empty promises. I don't believe he has ADHD, but I'm not ruling it out completely. He also books buses and trains for him often very last minute. But regarding his trips abroad, he plans everything. Update. I omitted a lot of details and lied about our personal lives, just so I could get truly unbiased opinions. To tell the truth, I'm a med student, got into med school a bit later because, well, life happened. He's just finished law school. At the time of the concert, I had to study for my anatomy final and could not have any distractions, but I told myself that the concert would be a treat to myself during this tough time period. We had arrived at his friend's place where we'd be staying, and TBH, I've never felt so unwelcomed and out of place in my entire life. Me, my BF, let's call him Jim, his friend Jane, and her BF John decided to go to a restaurant in the evening, and Jane basically didn't acknowledge me for the entire evening. Every time Jim had to leave the table, Jane would turn to John and pretended I wasn't there. I then heard her say that after dinner, she'd like to go get something cheap and sweet to eat, to which I proposed a certain shop in the city we were in. Jane replied that it smelled there. After asking her how did the shop smell, she looked me in the eyes, laughed, and said it smelled like poor people. When Jim returned, I took him aside and told him what Jane has said to me, to which he just laughed. For the rest of the evening, it was clear I was sticking out from the group, because the conversation topics were about things I had no knowledge about, so I couldn't participate in them. So I sat in silence until we came back to Jane's flat. I then cried in the shower. I felt completely useless, like the evening would have gone exactly the same whether I was there or not. The next day, the ticket incident happened. Jim checked the tickets and realized he booked them for the day before. I tried to get the tickets and was contacted by a scammer and got scammed circa 80 euros. Already talked to police, but they put the investigation on hold. During this time, Jim kept repeating how stupid he was and that he would fix everything, just didn't know how. The artist won't come to our country anytime soon. BTW. Jim also never said how he would prevent similar mistakes from happening again. After that, I didn't speak to him for almost 2 weeks and took to Reddit. In the end, I decided to give him one last chance and said probably both of us should work on our communication. He said he didn't expect me to give him another chance, didn't know how to react, so he thought it over for 12 plus hours and didn't contact me. During this time, I kind of emotionally accepted he didn't want to be with me anymore. The next day, Jim agreed to give it another try, but the excuses started. He kept telling me he would be jobless during the summer, money would be tight, we wouldn't be able to travel anywhere, that I should enjoy my summer, etc. To me, it sounded like he wanted an out, but didn't want to be the bad guy and proposed the breakup. Come to find out, he wasn't as broke as he was telling me because he attended a film and music festival. Doing the math, he probably spent around 300 euros. So I messaged him that I'm tired. He didn't even say sorry after Jane insulted me, and I didn't see him making any effort in planning our future and owning up to his mistakes. We wished each other well. We would be open to communication if we ever crossed paths again, and I now feel like somebody close to me died. Rationally, I know I did the right thing, But I've never broken up with anyone amicably before, and grieving this relationship is extremely hard on me. Thank you all. Take care. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Breakups suck, even when they're the right decision. Let yourself grieve the future you wanted. Cry. Watch movies that make you cry more. It will get easier. I hope your finals went well. Reply. Yes, thankfully I passed. Thank you for your kind words. Commenter 2. Breakups always suck, but you definitely did the right thing. Anyone who would laugh at Jane saying the place you suggested smells like poor people is not someone you want to build a life with. Reply. I don't want to indulge in this whole classism thing, but TBH Jim comes from a worse financial situation than me. Jane has generational wealth, and I think he didn't confront her because he would lose access to the perks of being her friend. After thinking about that moment so many times, I couldn't come up with any other explanation. OOP responds to a longer comment regarding the future of her relationship with Jim. Reply. I told him I needed to think about the future of our relationship and we should limit contact. Both us had finals coming up, and TBH, I didn't want any distractions. We enchanted a few texts, wished each other good luck on our exams, but we were not on speaking terms as before. It wasn't intended as a punishment, but a deep thinking about all the emotionally draining things that had happened in such a short time. Looking back, I know I should have done things differently, so I'll keep it in mind moving forward. Are OOP and Jim different nationalities? Reply. We're the same nationality, but I study in a neighboring country. If either one of us wanted to visit the other, it would take 5-3 hours of travel. Stories number 23. Aita for telling off my girlfriend's bratty adult kids when they kept showing up unannounced to use my house for parties. I'm 35, my girlfriend is 44. I have a place on Cape Cod that has a pool. My girlfriend's kids, boy 21, girl 19, will just bring friends over unannounced. They'll come in the house, go through the fridge, play loud music, and use the pool. Since I WFH for myself, I need a quiet atmosphere since I'm on calls most days. I don't have the relationship with them that should make them feel comfortable enough to be doing this. I've met both of them maybe half a dozen times over the course of 18 months. I admittedly haven't gone out of my way to be buddy-buddy with them since I don't have much use for young people. This is why I date people older than me who are empty nesters. Last weekend, I just snapped when both brought friends over for a big blowout, and I told them that they can't keep coming over. They gave me some resistance, and then I just cursed them out and told them I never wanted to see them anywhere near me again. For the record, I am very low-key. To get me angry takes a lot. I've never been in a fight in my life and have no interest in getting in one. I just feel like I had been brought to a boiling point and just had to let it out. It pisses me off when people have no regard for how they are affecting other people. They are just so oblivious, not aware, or not caring what I think, what the neighbors think, etc. They can't be that dumb. I just think they are disrespectful. My GF says I handled the whole situation poorly and that she can't forgive how I treated her kids. I haven't bothered to reach out over the past week. I think I'm done with her. Her kids are brats and have no manners, and I'm just so soured on her in the situation. If her kids were polite, it would be fine, but I hate spoiled, disrespectful brats. Stories number 24. Don't disrespect my nurses. When I was 22 and a new paramedic, I worked at a service based in a small hospital. I tried to spend some of my time between calls in the ER, orthopedic clinic, or day surgery helping out and getting practice with my skills. I developed a good working relationship with the nurses who were 100% female. I tried to do the things like linen changes so they could have a break. I was also a reliable coffee delivery service with no delivery fee. They helped me by letting me practice my skills and teaching me different things. One day, we had a patient who was in to have his cast removed. Apparently, he was a new resident to our country. I welcome immigrants. Both of my parents immigrated. This gentleman, however, did not wholly embrace our cultural views on women's equality. I believe he grew up in a place where women's rights are trampled by religion and laws. I don't support misogynistic beliefs, no matter how grounded they are in a culture, most especially when I'm not in that culture at present. He made a big deal of not addressing nurses directly, only the doctor who was a man. He made demands for the doctor to remove his cast, which wasn't going to happen. They get paid too much for that. He went on about having someone qualified, which wasn't an RN apparently. I assume he meant the qualification of having a cock. I have one of those. Grew it myself. It's nothing worth bragging about. I once considered getting it pierced. TBH, it could use decorating. Anyways, I ended up volunteering. I also had cut off tons of casts. It's dead easy. If you can master crayons, you can cut off a cast. I entered his room and boldly claimed I was here to remove his cast. His English was fluent enough, so I could tell he was pleased to be addressed by a man 22 barely counts, and he let me begin. I was about 1/4 the way in when he made some comments about being finally given someone qualified to do the task. Annoyed by his less than progressive attitude towards the wonderful nurses, I said without even looking up, "I don't know what you mean. I drive an ambulance. This is my first time doing this." He made some noises of protests and voiced his fears I would hurt him. So I stopped and asked him, "Would you like me to go get a qualified woman to come do it?" He apparently liked that idea less and let me continue. I was dying with the effort not to grin. He had a palpable anxiety the whole time. The cast saw doesn't even cut skin, it tickles. Edit. Thank you for the award, kind stranger. Stories number 25. New puppy pooped 10 times so far today. Hi. I adopted a beagle puppy mix from the shelter 2 weeks ago, and she is 10 weeks now. She started sleeping through the night, and I am beyond proud of her. But today she has pooped 10 different times. Her diet has not changed, and all the stool has been pretty well formed and solid. The vet tested her for giardia, and she does not have it. She was given a clean bill of health. The past week she was pooping 1 to 2 times a day and had very few accidents. Today, only one of her poops has been outside, and the rest have been on my carpet. I've been rewarding her with high-value treats every time she goes outside, and she's been doing great until now. I have no idea what this could be caused by, considering she has absolutely no other symptoms, no change in energy, no change in food, no apparent pain. I'm a bit at my wit's end with poop cleaning on top of the past week's sleep deprivation. LOL. Any idea what this could be caused by? This is my first puppy as well, so I may be missing something. Please help. Update. My small little brother fed her nearly half a brick of cheddar cheese while I was in the shower this morning. She is fine. He has only just now admitted this to me. I didn't leave her alone with a 7-year-old. She was in her crate. Her little puppy self is just quite literally full of cheese. We'll call my vet in the morning to make sure nothing needs to happen. She's not sick. My brother is just something. I'll make sure to talk to him about it, but I think this is the best possible ending for this situation. LOL. Stories number 26. Aita for telling my wife she's unreasonable. We're having a recurrent argument with my wife of 20 years about a situation with my brother and sister. For background, we're pretty wealthy. My wife and I created and sold a business. My brother and sister, on the other hand, are less lucky. All 3 of us got the same education. Both my brother and sister have a master, but my sister somehow ended up as a single mother with 2 kids and basically unemployed. My brother is a private school teacher, which means his salary isn't bad, but he's also nowhere near wealthy. The argument we keep having relates to my dad, who is also very comfortable in life. He keeps helping out my brother and sister. For instance, my sister lives in one of his houses. He gave her 2 cars throughout the years, etc. Basically, much of her lifestyle is subsidized by my dad. Same thing with my brother, although to a slightly lesser extent. Whenever he needs something, he won't buy himself Apple computer, driving lessons, his wedding, entire relocation cost from moving from one city to another, the security deposit for his new apartment, etc. My dad is there for him. Even for their kids' clothes, both my brother's and sister's kids, a large part of it is paid for by my dad. I assume that each of them receives north of $10,000 a year worth of various subsidies from my dad. My wife says this is unfair because we, on the other hand, receive virtually nothing from him. Our own kids, for instance, receive maybe 1 gift a year from their granddad for either Christmas or their birthday. She says we're somehow being punished for making the right choices in life, and they are rewarded for their own worst situation, and that this also encourages them to not work as hard as we did. She says fairness would dictate that my dad treats his children the same, giving equal amounts to each. Whenever she hears of a new present my dad gives my sister or brother, she gets very angry at the unfairness of it, and angry at me for not finding the situation abnormal. My own point of view is that the situation is fine, and that my dad is, on the contrary, trying to correct the unfairness of the difference in lifestyle between his kids, helping out my brother and sister who need it more than I do. I'm telling my wife she's trying to create conflict and division within my side of the family when there shouldn't be some, that we really have not much to complain about, and that she's unreasonable for having these feelings. Additional background that is somewhat relevant. We live far away from home in Asia, while my brother and sister live in the same country as my dad, France. We, however, come back home once a year for a few weeks to see my side of the family. So what do you think? Am I the asshole here? Is it normal that my wife feels disappointed and angry? Stories number 27. Make assumptions and rude comments. Have fun being understaffed. I started working part-time at a gym at the beginning of last month. Most of what I'm hired to do is check people in at the desk, make protein shakes, and answer phones or emails. About 5 to 10% of the job description involves cleaning the studio in between classes, which involves wiping down the weights, some of which are very heavy. Yesterday, I was working my normal shift and bending down to pick up a paper that a client had dropped on the floor when I pulled my back like a sprain or something. I immediately told one out of the two managers on shift and said that I would probably be totally fine. I just needed to ice for a few minutes and not pick up any of the heavy weights for the rest of the shift. I wasn't planning on filling out an injury report unless they wanted me to, and they were understaffed, so I was fine sticking it out for the last 3 hours of my shift as long as I wasn't heavy lifting. The manager said that that was totally fine and nicely told me to get him if I needed anything else. About an hour later, I was helping my coworker clean the workout studio and was cleaning the benches while she did the heavy weights. Generally, I would have done the weights since I am about 30 years younger than her and more able-bodied on a normal day. However, she is more than capable and has cleaned them many times. The other manager on shift walked by the fitness room, gave me a dirty look, and asked me to switch to do the weights, and made some under-her-breath comment about not believing that I was making my coworker do it. Then she walked away without listening to my explanation about my back. I chased after her and said that she was right, and I was definitely too injured to do the assigned job she had given me. Also that I had to use my PTO to leave immediately to go see a doctor, and asked her to get me an injury report to fill out. She looked like I slapped her in the face and started to backpedal, saying that I didn't have to do the weights, but I doubled down and demanded an injury report ASAP. Then I clocked out and left, leaving them severely understaffed. I told the other manager what happened on the way out, and he sorta laughed because he knows that the other manager is generally a bitch who is much more likely to get stressed about the understaffing, while he is very chill and a go-with-the-flow leader. Honestly, I should probably thank her for giving me that push to see a doctor leave early, because they said if my back keeps hurting, I have a good case for workman's comp. Stories number 28. Aita for literally pretending my old best friend didn't exist when she tried to say hi to me after ghosting me years ago. This happened about a week ago, and I'm still turning it over in my head, so I figured I'd ask here. A few years ago, one of my closest friends, let's call her R, completely disappeared on me. We'd been best friends for 7 years. One day, she told me she didn't have enough money to go clothes shopping with me. I said it was fine and that we can just hang out together before we started our new jobs. I asked if she wanted to come around my house or if she wanted me to come to hers. She never replied. The day we were supposed to hang out came and went. And then I saw afterwards she had been out drinking with other friends. So, she obviously had money to spend, just not with me. I stopped trying after I saw that. It took me a long time to accept it, and it hurt in a way I still don't think I've fully processed. Although I have friends, I don't let myself get that close to anyone again. That was 4 years ago. Fast forward to a few days ago. I saw her ironically when I was out shopping with other friends. She waved at me and smiled like nothing had ever happened, like we were old mate bumping into each other, not someone who I genuinely loved as a friend. My other friends said hello, being polite and all. They knew her from high school too, but I didn't move any closer to her or say anything. I literally pretended she wasn't here. I talked over her asking what we had all been up to these years, saying I was hungry and that we should go to get pho before the wait time got too long. Then I looked her right through her and walked past without saying a word. Now here's where I'm wondering if I was the arsehole. A few friends said later I was too cold to her and that what I did was overly dramatic. It was years ago. That maybe she had her reasons for ghosting and I should be the bigger person. But honestly, I don't think I owe someone grace when they couldn't even give me a goodbye to a 7-year friendship. Aita for being petty, pretending she didn't exist. Stories number 29. Whipped for skipping my little sister's wedding because I'm her only sister who isn't a bridesmaid. I don't think she's a full-blown bridezilla, but Aita said my post was too long and I still want some outside opinions from people with wedding experiences. This is the only post for this story. Intro. I 31F and the oldest of 5 sisters. 30F. 27F, Zoe 23F, 21F. Other than the usual mild sister antics, teasing, nagging, clothes stealing, and other minor drama, we all grew up very close. My background. I joined the military and moved away at 18 years old. when sister Zoe was only 10 years old. While stationed in Florida, I had my son in 2017, and despite my best and very expensive legal efforts, have been unable to leave the move home to Kentucky until my son, 8M, turns 18 2035. I try to visit home as often as I can, stay involved in Secret Santas, birthdays, Mother's Day, etc. I keep in touch via social medias as well without being the overly annoying big sister. My 30F sister was the first of us to get married back in 2018. And although the girls under 21 weren't included in some of the more mature bachelorette events, all four of us were bridesmaids for my sister, and she had four additional bridesmaids as well, 8 wedding party pairs in total. Less than 2 months later, tragedy struck when our devoted dad, husband love of our mom's life for over 30 years, rock of our family and well-known member of our community, died of a sudden first-time heart attack at a healthy 53 years old. No heart disease, healthy weight, no warning. Passed away thinking he had heartburn on Christmas Day. To say this event changed each one of us to a cellular level wouldn't be descriptive enough. We will never be the same. As the oldest sibling and in a long-term relationship of my own, I know just how painful it is to think about planning such a big day while navigating the dad-sized hole in our hearts. Knowing he won't be there to walk us down the aisle, calm nerves, dance with us, and cry at least once. He was such a crybaby when it came to his girls. When Zoe's boyfriend of 7 years was ready to pop the question, he called each of her sisters in lieu of my dad's presence, to which I excitedly gave my blessing and was thrilled. On June 21st, 2025, he proposed. Zoe sent me pictures and a thank you for any part I'd had in the proposal, as she knew he had reached out to me. I gave my congratulations and fawned over the ring and pictures and shared in her excitement with my mom on FaceTime the day afterwards. Just a couple weeks later, I get a text message. Hey Dana, I wanted to have a quick chat about something important. When Carter and I started planning the wedding party, we had to keep things really small to keep it balanced. He had 5 close friends picked, and I already had 2 people in mind before we finalized the list. That didn't leave room to include everyone I love and care about, and it was such a tough decision. I hope you know how much you mean to me, and that not being a bridesmaid doesn't change that at all. You're incredibly important to me, and I can't wait to celebrate this day with you. So to clarify, 2 friends plus 3 of 4 sisters equals 5 bridesmaids. I'm a pretty strong person, but I was pretty gutted. I never imagined having my own bridal party with more than 4 bridesmaids and any of my sisters not being included, relationship at the time aside. If God blesses you with 4 sisters, those are your built-in day ones, unless there's a serious reason or toxicity, at least to me. I was the strong one for all of them when my dad passed. The only sister with kids and nephew that they adore stood up to my 30F sister when she went politically extreme and was mean to our mom last year after the election. Not to mention my business is doing exceptionally well, and I'd have the means to provide a high-value gift and help with a little of the wedding costs since my dad can't. All of that on top of the simple fact, she's my second youngest baby sister, and I love her dearly. So why shouldn't I just attend anyway, outside the bridal party? Our family has been in the same small town since before Kentucky even had statehood. My dad had a successful automotive business which my mom still has open, and our family is publicly known for having 5 daughters. Without giving away our identities, we share a last name with a famous band 5, and that was a joking nickname for our little clan my entire childhood. In that town, our last name is pretty synonymous with the idea of being 5 daughters, and I genuinely feel like the speculation of leaving just one of us out could potentially cause drama that could outshine the marriage we're there to celebrate. Let's be honest, human nature loves drama far more than happiness, and I love Zoe enough to want her to have all attention on her that day. It would be perfectly feasible for me to blame my co-parenting schedule, travel plans of 1,100 miles, or anything else as a perfect excuse to not attend and avoid this drama for both of us. My mom also mentioned she also will be having one of our cousin's little boys acting as her ring bearer, instead of her only nephew. While I get it, toddlers are cuter than 8-yos, he was the ring bearer for 30F sister's wedding in 2018. My mom's explanation was, well, she's babysat for them a lot over the years, but I'm still shocked neither one of us will be part of her wedding party. I am trying so hard to not take this personally, but I don't know why she would do this if there wasn't some intention. Weddings with 130 guests have 5+ wedding party couples quite often, and the difference between 5 and 6 bridesmaids standing room is minimal. Anytime I've been a bridesmaid, I purchased my own dress, accessories, transportation to events which since I was never local was usually only an expense for me, and do my own hair and makeup. She also stated that Carter had chosen 5 close friends, but he didn't have one acquaintance that could be a sixth groomsman. If 8 years old nephew is too old to be a ring bearer, he could have been my groomsman. My mom mentioned she was surprised that Zoe asked 30F sister since they aren't that close, but closer than me. But TBH, if both of her oldest sisters were left out, I think that would look less intentional since we are substantially older than her. As much as I love Zoe and would love to be included, I don't feel uncomfortable not being a bridesmaid. I feel uncomfortable being the only sister who isn't, and the optics from that. I know I need to reply to Zoe's text, but I don't even know where to start. Yep, I was so shocked she's been left on read for a week today. I no idea for that. So should I bail altogether and avoiding the risk of drama? Or do I attend and let Zoe's chips fall where they may? I have zero intention of causing a scene or even speaking about this at any of the events. But knowing our loud friends and family and how well known I am as the oldest, I don't think I'll have to. It will be noticed regardless. Stories number 30. AIO for snapping at an old man after he grabbed my hand off my 2-year-old child. We were at my 2-year-old child's survival swim lessons. They're a daredevil and jump into water without fear, so we need them to learn to swim. The lesson is tough for them because they're learning to swim on their own. There is a lot of crying involved, and at the end, we come to the edge of the pool to check in with the instructor, and the kids lay on a towel at pool edge to kind of decompress and to spit up any water they may have swallowed. The area of the pool where the lessons are being held is marked off with lane lines, and it's just for these one-on-one swim lessons. As today's lesson ends, the instructor has us partner and myself meet our child at the edge of the pool by the ladder. As we're setting up the towel and going to get our child out of the pool, a 70-ish-year-old man starts kind of jostling past us saying, "Excuse me," and trying to get to the ladder our child is currently climbing up, sort of aggressively pushing past us and cutting us off as we try to get to our child. Again, the kids are upset and crying after these lessons a lot of the time, and our child is getting out pretty slowly. The old man keeps aggressively saying, "Excuse me," and starts trying to push past our 2-year-old to get to the ladder. At this point, I have my hand on my child's shoulder to help usher them out of the pool and to their towel. We're at the edge of the pool. My child is at the top of the ladder. Old man grabs my hand off my child and pushes it, which nudges my child, and again says, "Excuse me." At this point, I look up and say, "You can wait a second, or I can push you in." Old man says, "Whoa, whoa." I ask politely. I say, "You grabbed my hand off my child. Don't ever do that." At this point, my wife ushers me away. I could have certainly handled this better, but I am fuming. Did I overreact? Was my response justified? Stories number 31. You have to tell me. It's not fair. I'm currently 38 plus 3 weeks pregnant with my daughter. I went to the supermarket yesterday and was at the tills when an older couple, complete strangers, lined up behind me. The woman gave me a big smile. Woman: "Wow, you look ready to pop." Me: "Yeah, I've got about a week left." Woman: "Ooh, how lovely. Do you know what it is yet?" Me: "She's a little girl." Woman: "Lovely. Go on then. Tell me the name." Me: "I'm sorry. I'm not telling anyone her name until after she's born." Woman: Smile fades, "But that's not fair. You have to tell me." Me: "Nobody gets to know yet. Sorry." Woman, raising voice angrily: "But that doesn't matter. You have to tell me. I might never see you again." Me: "Well, how about, if you do see me again, it'll be after she's born, so you can ask her what her name is, okay?" Woman: "She'll be a baby. She won't tell me." Me neither. Was just a short exchange, but it made me laugh. She was so adamant that I had to tell her, and that I was being mean to her by refusing. Edit. Sorry for causing confusion. 38 plus 3 means 38 weeks, 3 days. It's how it's written on nursing charts, etc. in my country, so I'm used to using it. Stories number 32. Aita for making my teen daughter's friend feel bad for being larger than her. My 15-year-old daughter recently made a new friend. Let's call her Aria. I actually knew Aria's mom from high school, so I thought it was great. The girls were hanging out at our house and decided to walk to 711 to grab Slurpees. Out of nowhere, it started pouring rain. When they got back, they were completely soaked from head to toe and needed a change of clothes. Here's where things got tricky. My daughter is really petite, barely 5 feet tall, and around 90 pounds. All her clothes are size XXS, youth medium or large, and size 0. Aria is a bit taller and more muscular than my daughter. She's not fat at all, just built differently. When they got back, My daughter tried everything to find something Arya could wear, but nothing fit. I could tell both girls were feeling really uncomfortable and on the verge of tears. I didn't want Arya to feel embarrassed or stuck wearing clothes that didn't fit. So I quickly drove to a nearby garage store and spent just over $100 on a hoodie in size medium and sweatpants in size small. I rushed home, gave them to her, and told her she could keep them. She was staying until midnight, and I wanted her to feel good for the rest of the night. Arya was polite and thanked me, but honestly, the mood fell off for the rest of the evening. The next morning, I woke up to a long text from Arya's mom saying I embarrassed Arya and made her feel big, which was the opposite of what I wanted. She told me Arya would have been fine squeezing into my daughter's clothes and that I made her feel bad about her body. I just apologized, even though my heart was in the right place. To be honest, I also didn't want my daughter's clothes stretched out. She bought a lot of them with her own money, and I wanted them to last. Now I feel really bad and wonder if I unintentionally made Arya feel like she was fat, even though I don't think that at all. Am I the Aholi here? Was there a better way to handle this? Stories number 33. Emile wouldn't stop opening my packages, so I decided to send her something she really wouldn't want to see. If you want updates, I post everything on my own subreddit. And yes, I've shared this story before in another sub, but that's actually why I made my own, so I could keep all the updates and trauma posts in one place instead of repeating myself everywhere. Also, sorry that I like using Grammarly so my posts make more sense, and sorry that my life sounds like some made-up telenovela. Trust me, I wish it was fake too. Maya Mael has this habit of tearing into every single package that shows up at the house. She doesn't check the name, doesn't ask, just runs to the porch and rips them open like she's in an unboxing video no one asked for. Lately, I've been ordering a lot of supplies for a small claims case I'm preparing. Binders, page protectors, labels, all with my name clearly on the box. But she already opened one of my big legal supply boxes and tried to act like it was for my FIL when the only thing I ordered for him was a tiny padded envelope. She knew exactly what she was doing. I refused to give her the reaction she wanted, yelling, cursing, so she could play victim. Instead, I got petty. I ordered the biggest, loudest, most intimidating vibrating adult toy I could find. Overnight shipping. My name front and center on the box. Now, I already have a camera installed outside by the front door, not just for package watching, but because I've got a gravel pad project going on and I'm suing the original contractor. I don't need him showing up unannounced, so the camera is there for safety as much as anything else. The day the package was out for delivery, I got the 5 stops away notification. So I sat by the window and waited. Thump! Package hits the porch. Then, her footsteps. Fast. She bolts to the door, grabs it, and vanishes into her room. Silence. 15 minutes later, I come out to walk my dog, and there it is. The box. Wide open. Sitting on the living room table. No one hiding it. No one mentioning it. Just sitting there. She hasn't said a word since. And me? I've never known such peace. Stories number 34. AIO after discovering my 27M wife's 30F family was behind my vicious cyberbullying attack, and that my wife knew, but she hid it for years? In-laws. My 27M marriage is in a really bad spot after a deep breach of trust. How to recover or how to trust my wife 30F again. For some context, we've been together 7 years and married 5. We have a child 2M. We met at a con. I thought her cosplay was amazing, struck up a conversation, and the rest is history. She's the most loving, unselfish, and decent person I've ever met. Our relationship was never without its challenges. Our biggest obstacle was her family. My presence was unwelcome. They're very close-knit, and if one doesn't accept you, then you're not getting far. There are a few family members who broke away from the pack, but no one hardly acknowledges them. They're no contact and black sheep. I didn't know how my wife's family was, but I did know family was extremely important to her. Her whole upbringing was based on family, so I tried everything in my power to make it work. They didn't really put up with me until our son. Between our wedding planning to shortly before the wedding, I was the target of some relentless and vicious cyberbullying. It got personal. Fake bad reviews polluted my business profile too. It cost me some potential clients. I didn't know where it came from or why. I couldn't find a solution. I'd report, but it'd take a while for anything to be done, or there'd be more accounts coming out for another round. The whole thing impacted my life and my mental health. It took a toll. My wife was incredibly supportive. She was my rock and my best friend. I loved her even more for her care and how she held me down. Then the trolling and everything stopped. I wanted nothing more than to move on. I put it all behind me until the other day my wife confessed that her family was behind the harassment. I didn't believe her at first, but she was serious and showed me proof in their family group chat. It felt like I was right back there again. They were gloating and justifying themselves, saying stuff like, some people gotta learn the hard way, and if he wants to join the fold, here's his initiation. I knew I wasn't their favorite person, but I never realized they hated me and would go to such extremes. I asked my wife when did she find out, and if she was a part of it. She swore she wasn't, and that she'd never do that to me. She claims she didn't initially know it was her family until a few months before our wedding. One of my SNL's 28F left a profile up on her phone, and my wife saw it. She confronted her family and made them stop. I asked why she was telling me everything now. She said it was weighing on her, and she opened up to her eldest sister 35F, one of the family's black sheep. She threatened to tell me the truth if my wife didn't. Nothing my wife said made it better. She knew for years what her family did and hid it from me. She kept everything quiet. It hurts more coming from her because she knew firsthand my pain. I was pretty numb. My wife was anxious and kept pushing for me to say something. I told her there wasn't anything she could say right now that would make it okay. What she did was no better than her family. They made my life hell, and her first instinct was to cover for them. She started crying and begged me to understand. She said it wasn't like that, and she was trying to make things right with as little damage as possible in men relationships. I wasn't very receptive to her. She wasn't reaching me. I couldn't help her or myself. I told her I needed some time to clear my head. She was against it. She said we could work through this together, but I was firm on space. Space isn't a request she's respected. I'm really trying to understand her side. I'm trying to move past it, but I feel so betrayed. I trusted her more than anyone. I'm my most vulnerable with her. I kept opening up to her about the incident even after she knew the truth. She encouraged me to let it go and not allow it to have any claim on me. I thought she had my best interest in mind. Now I just see it as her attempt to protect her family yet again. I haven't confronted anyone involved. I don't think they're worth it. But I've made it clear they're no longer allowed to see our son until further notice. Now I'm getting texts about how I'm depriving my child of grandparents and aunts over past family spats. One of the hardest parts is the distance from my wife. She's my best friend and partner in every way. Now we're mostly only communicating about our son and other household necessities. She's hurt by my rejection, and she's been crying often. If I'm being unfair to her. I hate all of this. I want to make our marriage work, but I'm questioning our relationship up to now. I'm just really lost. I need an outside perspective. How to navigate this situation and move forward for my marriage and myself. Hey Joe, stories number 35. Aita for keeping all of my sister's things, even though my cousin claims she was meant to have them. My sister passed away last year. She was only 24. I'm 22. She was my absolute best friend. We lived together for a while, shared clothes, inside jokes, trauma, everything. When she died, it felt like someone yanked the floor out from under me. After the funeral, her room just sat untouched. I asked my parents if I could have some of her things, the stuff that meant something to us. I didn't grab everything. Just her favorite mug, some clothes, a worn-out journal we passed back and forth when we were younger, a jacket she basically lived in. These things gave me a kind of peace. I wasn't completely alone. Then my cousin 23F called out of nowhere and said she wanted some of my sister's things. Said they were soul sisters, which is funny because I barely remember them talking the last few years. My sister never mentioned anything deep between them. My cousin goes, she wanted me to have her jacket, her silver necklace, and her journal if anything ever happened. That caught me off guard. First of all, who says that in a casual convo? And second, why would my sister promise her most personal items to someone she wasn't even close to anymore? I told her no, gently at first. I explained how much those things meant to me. That's when she flipped and said I was being selfish, accused me of acting like my grief is more important than hers. Then she went full and involved her mom, my aunt, who dragged my mom into it. And now there's a whole thing in the family. Here's what's really been eating at me. My cousin not doing this because she misses my sister. She's doing it because she wants to own something that makes her feel connected even if it's not real. She didn't cry at the funeral. She didn't reach out after, and now she wants to parade around in my sister's leather jacket like she's the one who lost everything. I get that grief is messy. It's not an excuse to be entitled or manipulative. I'm the one who saw my sister every day, who held her hand in the hospital, who has to live with this silence every single day. And now I'm being told I'm hoarding her things? No. I'm protecting the only parts of her I have left. Aita for keeping everything and not giving my cousin anything. Stories number 36. Aita for refusing to babysit my nephew anymore after my SIL made a comment about my infertility. I 33F have been trying to conceive for 6 years. I've had 2 miscarriages, 3 failed IVF cycles, and 1 chemical pregnancy. It's been emotionally brutal. I've confided in my close family, including my sister-in-law, Carla. Carla has a 4-year-old boy who I love deeply. I used to babysit him all the time, date nights, emergencies, random weekend mornings. I never asked for money, and I genuinely enjoyed it. Last month, during dinner, Carla joked in front of my husband, Emile, and a few others. Well, you better keep watching nephew. To get your mommy fix, huh? Clock's ticking. The entire room went silent. I excused myself to the bathroom and cried. I didn't make a scene, but I texted her a day later and said I was hurt. She doubled down, said it was just a joke and that I'm being too sensitive. I told her I won't be babysitting anymore for a while. Now the family is split. Some say I'm punishing the kid for something he didn't do. Others say Carla crossed a line. Aita for drawing that boundary. Stories number 37. CB tries to pay me $70 for a 10-hour job after promising $200. Then asks if I want more work. Short, I was out delivering flyers for my regular job, which is a government contract, when a guy flagged me down and asked if I wanted to do some extra work. He said he needed 2,000 flyers delivered for his family business and would pay me $200 for the day. I agreed. Then, without any real discussion, he casually dropped the offer to $150 while talking. I didn't argue, just figured I'd honor it and get it done. I drove 2.5 hours across towns to do the job. When I arrived and counted the flyers, I realized he'd only given me 1,000, not the 2,000 we agreed on. When I pointed this out, he messaged me, "So $70 for 1,000 then?" I told him no, we agreed to $150 for the day, and I'd already traveled all that way. He said, okay. So I walked 17 kilometers over 5 hours, hand-delivered every single flyer, tracked my steps and Route 24,000 plus steps, and sent him full proof. It was obvious that it would not be possible to deliver 2,000 in one day unless you walked for 8 hours, and that certainly isn't worth $150. Then he called me afterward, tried to cut it again to $120, argued with me about it, and, cherry on top, asked if I wanted to do more work for him in the future at $150 per 1,000 flyers. That rate doesn't even come close to covering the time and fuel. I told him no thanks. I already have a job that pays better and includes super. He hasn't paid me yet, either, and keeps ghosting my messages. Edit. I think the answer to a lot of your questions is, I'm an idiot who wanted to believe the best in people. I've sent him a letter of demand which threatens consumer affairs and VCAT action, and will leave an honest review of my experience. The rest of your suggestions, while hilarious, do not sit well with me morally. If I don't get paid, oh well, live and learn. Update. After I sent him a formal letter of demand, he called me immediately in a panic asking what the long letter was all about. I explained clearly and calmly that it wasn't a threat, but a legal step to recover the payment I was owed. He got defensive, accusing me of threatening him. I clarified again that it was not a threat, just outlining the consequences if he didn't pay. When he questioned the $150 amount, I sent him a screenshot confirming our original agreement. He tried to argue that he never agreed, but it was clear he had. Then he suddenly started crying, saying he was scared, that I know where his business is, that I'm trying to ruin him, and that he has 4 kids to feed. I reiterated that I hadn't taken any action yet, and that this was just a final warning before escalating it formally. He was especially concerned I might have reported him to the ATO. In the end, he paid the full amount. I told him I consider the matter resolved and that no further action will be taken. Stories number 38. Karen's kid poops in hotel pool. Demands a discount because we have to shut down pool pile of poo. Every time I think I've seen it all from a Karen, she surprises us all with the magnitude of her entitlement. This incident occurred yesterday at our hotel pool and left us all dumbfounded. So we're having a normal day at the hotel when a small group of people approach the front desk. They are claiming there is shit floating in the pool. This seems funny, but for the hotel it's a major issue. The pool needs to be shut down and locked immediately due to contamination and health risks. Unfortunately, we just can't scoop it out and call it a day. Our pool company needs to be called in, and they treat the water. We can only open up the pool when they authorize us to do so. There is a huge liability risk if a guest claims they became ill because they were swimming with feces. We go out to confirm there is shit in the pool, and all agree this is the case. It's not easy kicking out people in the pool on a hot day. The pool is an amenity, and if it's closed, guests will try and get a discount. As we're looking at all the people in the pool, it appears the feces came from a toddler 2 to 3 years old. Of course, the mom is an entitled Karen who even admits it's most likely from her kid. The diapers next to her give it away, lol. Everyone else reluctantly leaves the pool without issue, except our Karen. She says people should be able to stay in the area, and we're overreacting. We would get fired if protocol is not followed. The pool is locked, but Karen follows us back to the front desk. She starts demanding a discount on her stay because the pool is an amenity. One of the employees makes the mistake of saying the pool is being closed because it was her kid's fault. Karen says she will be calling corporate and leaving a detailed, negative review against the hotel. Should be interesting to see how this plays out. Stories number 39. I just found out my boyfriend is married. Okay, I know the title sounds bad, but listen. I 30F have been dating Caleb 32M for 2 years now. Our entire relationship, he's given me no signs that he is married or in another relationship. We text and call all the time, we see each other most weekends, and he doesn't wear a wedding ring. I've even been to his house a few times, and there's no wedding photos up on the walls. So tonight he's spending the night at my apartment. He gets a phone call, he goes out of the room to take it. I don't really mind, I just think he wants some privacy. When he comes back and I ask him who he's talking to, and in the most casual tone, he says my wife. My heart stopped. I asked him to repeat himself, and once again, he says I was on the phone with my wife. I don't know why, but the first question out of my mouth was, I'm your mistress? He kind of laughed and explained that they're in an open marriage. This confused me even more, but I just got up and walked away. I am not a fan of being in open relationships, and I am most definitely certain I told him that when we first started dating. I'm not really sure where to go from here. I'm definitely going to break up with him. I just don't understand why he didn't tell me in the beginning. Any insight would be great. Thank you so much. Mini update. He left like 10 minutes ago. I told him I wasn't feeling well. He wanted to stay and nurse me. I told him no, I'd prefer to be alone. He kind of gave me this weird look before he left. He said, I didn't tell you I was married because I didn't think you'd want to be with me. When he got to his car, he texted me telling me he loves me and he hopes I feel better. I didn't respond. I'm not going to. This feels like a good ghosting opportunity. Stories number 40. Aita for telling my mother I'm put my house up for sale next January. I 28F and my boyfriend 31M have let my parents stay with us for almost 2 years rent-free since they hit a hard financial point and could afford a place for rent. My mother 53F has been telling me for the last year she plans on finding a better paying job so they can get back on their feet since my father 58M can no longer work due to the damage done to his back from working an over-demanding job since he was a teenager. I decided to tell them in March of this year that my boyfriend and I would like to my house up for sale so we could have room for him and I plus our 2 children with trying for a third sometime next year, and my mother would need to not only find a better job but a place of their own. I expressed that I would be more than willing to help with looking and putting in applications for her, as she's not tech smart, as she would say. I've even expressed if she would like my house, I'd be more than willing to sell it to them, less than what I would like to help. This turned into a giant argument from just my mother stating that I owe it to her to let her stay with us, and that her husband is dying so she can't think of doing any of that right now. He's not dying. He just has a lot of wear and tear on his spine, but can still function just like any other person. I told her that we've helped out every way we can, even taking a $3,000 loan to try and help catch her rent up at the house she was at before they stayed with us, and put their electric bill in my name so they could have power because she could afford to pay it what she owed on hers. I also pay the loan without asking for any money, and I paid their electric bill when they lived at the other house. And that I'm still offering to help, but she doesn't think that's enough, that I should do more, and that I should find a house large enough to have room for them and my family. I simply told her no, and that we would like a home without extra people so we can expand our family and it be a place just for my boyfriend and I with our children. My father is very understanding and has even offered to help pack and watch the kids while we move, but my mother is still trying to create arguments with me about it since I don't do enough for them, especially her. The arguments are to the point I do not want her here, because they're every week now, and also causing small tiffs with my boyfriend and I because of some of the hurtful comments she makes now about him and I.